Welcome to the live show. Yes, y'all. It is currently 2:56 p.m. and today's date is the 24th of January 2025. Of course, 24 days into the new year. How is your year going? How are you feeling this beautiful Friday afternoon? Feel blessed? Because I'm thankful to God. That's all I can tell y'all. I am thankful to the Almighty God. With that being said, the legend, the OG, the 45th, now the 47th, visited Asheville, North Carolina today. And of course, he's only been here for what, 4 days or 5 days? And he's already done a lot. Okay. A lot has been accomplished already. This is wonderful. Promises made, promises kept. All right. That is what it is. So we're gonna watch this right here. His visit to North Carolina. He spoke about FEMA. He spoke about some really crucial matters. So we're gonna listen to that. But I want to do something new today. Okay. So we're gonna say the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. Pledge of Allegiance. All right. You ready? All right. Here we go. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so we're going to get the show started. When he landed, I'm sure he was having conversations with people on the situation on ground. He promised to go to North Carolina, and here he is. He said he was going to visit Asheville, North Carolina, and here we go.
Takes care of it. Florida gets hit. Takes care of it. Florida gets hit, the governor takes care of it, meaning the state takes care of it. To have a group of people come in from an area that don't even know where they're going in order to solve immediately a problem is something that never worked for me. But this is probably one of the best examples of it not working. And there's been some others, like in Louisiana, etc. So we're going to be doing something on FEMA that I think most people agree. I'd like to see the states take care of disasters. Let the state take care of the tornadoes and the hurricanes and all of the other things that happen. And I think you're going to find it a lot less expensive. You'll do it for less than half, and you're going to get a lot quicker response. So that seems to be the recommendation, but we'll be making that recommendation over the next couple of weeks. We're going to go to the site now, and we're going to figure out a plan for really demolition and cleaning, because not a lot's been done, and we're very disappointed in the Biden administration, but we're going to make up for lost time. And I said I'd do that, and this is about the earliest we could possibly be here. And we're honored to be here. This has been a great state. They're great people, and they've really been mishandled. But it's all, this group is going to be great, and we're going to get it taken care of. Any questions?
How will you respond to FEMA? Do you expect to ask Congress for additional aid for North Carolina and California?
It'll be direct. In other words, the aid will go through us. So rather than going through FEMA, it will go through us. And I think maybe this is a good place to start. Because, and in all fairness to the governor, and in all fairness to everybody else, FEMA was not on the ball. And we're going to turn it all around. Yes.
A lot of Americans think that this is symbolic of what your campaign was all about. America first, putting your priorities to Americans. Even going to California, where their policies might have been one of the biggest reasons why they've had these problems. But you're putting the American people first. Your thoughts on that?
We are. Thank you. I like that question. Boy, I want more questions like that. That's even a statement. Thank you very much. He's a good man, that guy. And he's also a very professional reporter, I have to say. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're putting America first. We're putting, in this case, North Carolina and California. We're going to do a good job in California. That is a disaster like, I don't know if we've ever seen anything like it, frankly. They say the biggest in the history of California. I think, has anything bigger than that happened in the whole country ever? It looks like, I don't want to say what it looks like, but you know what I'm going to say. It looks like something hit it. And we won't talk about what hit it, but it is a bad, bad situation. And I guess I'm going to meet with some government officials. But, I mean, much more importantly, and in California, just to revert to it for a second, millions of gallons of water are waiting to be poured down through already the half pipes that are already built. I mean, they've been up for 40 years. And about 20 years ago, they turned off the water. And it's the water that comes from the Pacific Northwest. Some of it comes out of Canada, and it flows there, and it probably has flowed there for 1 million years. And they turned it off, and they routed out to the Pacific. And in the meantime, you don't have water in the hydrants. You don't have water in the sprinkler systems. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. And everyone's trying to figure out, why aren't they turning it back? They say it's the Delta smelt. It's a fish But I find that hard to believe, but we'll figure it out. And without doing that, you're going to continue to have problems.
Mr. President, what are you prepared to do, sir, if OPEC doesn't respond to your call to cut oil prices?
Well, we want to see OPEC cut the price of oil, and that will automatically stop the tragedy that's taking place in Ukraine. It's a butchering tragedy for both sides, by the way. A tremendous number of Russian soldiers are dead, tremendous number of Ukrainian soldiers, and a lot of people are dead from the bombing of the cities. But right now it's just bullets whacking and hitting men, mostly men, almost in all cases men. And over 1 million men are killed, and they're losing thousands of people a week. It's crazy. It's a crazy war, and it never would have happened if I was president. Would never have happened. This is crazy that it happened, but we want to stop it. Now, one way to stop it quickly is for OPEC to stop making so much money and to drop the price of oil, because they have it nice and high. And if you have it high, that war's not going to end so easily. So OPEC ought to get on the ball, and they ought to drop the price of oil, and that war will stop right away.
Mr. President, funding to Los Angeles because of its sanctuary city policy?
I want to see two things in Los Angeles: voter ID, so that the people have a chance to vote, and I want to see the water be released and come down into Los Angeles and throughout the state. Those are the two things. After that, I will be the greatest president that California has ever seen. I want the water to come down and come down to Los Angeles, and also go out to all the farmland that's barren and dry. You know, they have land that they say is the equivalent of the land in Iowa, which is about as good as there is anywhere on earth. The problem is it's artificial, because they artificially stop the water from going onto the land. So I want two things. I want voter ID for the people of California, and they all want it. Right now you don't have voter ID. People want to have voter identification. You want to have proof of citizenship. Ideally, you have one-day voting, but I just want voter ID as a start, and I want the water to be released, and they're going to get a lot of help from the U.S. Thank you very much. I'll see you in a little while. We'll see you at the site. We'll see you at the site.
About the deportation flights, where are they going from? Where are they going to?
Deportation's going very well. We're getting the bad, hard criminals out. These are murderers. These are people that have been as bad as you get, as bad as anybody you've seen. We're taking them out first. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. Move to the grass. Move to the grass.
Oh.
Yeah, Trump isn't playing around, yo. He is not playing around. He is back. He is so back.
He did too. I'm shaking. You married up, sir.
Love your hat, Mrs. Trump.
Hug the First Lady. Hug the President of the United States. God, please. president who is actually talking to the people. A president who actually goes out there, put himself out there, and has a conversation with the voters. Oh, man. And he's not even campaigning. It's not like he's campaigning to be the president of the United States. He is already president of the United States. You can never make this up, yo. He campaigned on this. He said he was going to go to Asheville. And here he is in Asheville, North Carolina, talking to the people who were, affected. Trump hat signed. You better get ready. It's gonna sell for a lot of money.
Thank you very much, everybody. Please. Hi, Virginia. Well, thank you very much. It's a little cold outside, but you're getting used to the cold. And one of the things that are very important to me, and one of the reasons I'm happy that we won so convincingly, is to help North Carolina get fixed up. They supported us in record numbers, and I'm supporting them in record numbers too. And they had me set. I wanted to go to Los Angeles and see what was going on with California, why they aren't releasing the water. Millions and millions of gallons of water. They're sending it out to the Pacific. Someday somebody's going to explain that one. In the meantime, they have no water in Los Angeles where they had the problems. So we're going there. But I said, well, what about North Carolina? Well, you could do that. No, I can't. I said, we're stopping in North Carolina first, and then we're going to Los Angeles. And we just appreciate the outpouring of love that we've had here. Laura was, as you know, very instrumental in the campaign. And she lived here and is loved, and we appreciate it. And Michael Whatley has been incredible, wherever Michael is. Hello, Michael. Michael Whatley has been great, and your congressmen have been great. And what we thought we'd do is take a quick look around. First, we wanted to do this. I want to say that we're very disappointed in FEMA. Your new governor, it's not his fault. He's brand new to the whole situation. But we're going to work together with the governor. We're going to work together with the senators, but really we're going to work a lot with your congressmen, especially the three that are in the area, and Michael Watley. And I'd like to put Michael in charge of making sure everything goes well. And Franklin Graham has been unbelievable. We've made a big contribution to Franklin, and we'll continue to do so. But I've been hearing nothing but praise for the job that Samaritan's Purse has done with Franklin, and we appreciate it. Where is Franklin? He's around here someplace. And that good-looking guy, he's always been a good-looking guy. His father was a good-looking guy, too, I'll tell you. We loved his father, right? I saw his father in the latter years, and I said, well, he doesn't have long to go. He was having a hard time, and he lived about 3 or 4 years after that, right? He was they say it was good stock. He had the ultimate good stock. But I want to thank you, Franklin. You've been fantastic here, and everywhere he goes, he's always the first one I see. People don't realize it, how good it is. A lot of people, they go, well, maybe it's for the people that he's got, and you guys know because you're here, but the people that he's got have done amazing work. So I just want to thank everybody. We're going to get over and take a look. We'll say a few words. I do want to introduce some of the people that we have, and our First Lady. We'll start with our First Lady. She wanted to be here because of North Carolina, and then I said, well, you can do that, but you're going to have to come to California, too. And she said, that's okay. And we got to fix that one up, too. Do you ever see anything like that one? It's who would have thought that could have happened? So, Governor Josh Stein, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And we're going to have a very long and good relationship. Representatives, maybe stand up if you would so the press can see. Representatives Chuck Edwards. Chuck, thank you. Thank you, Chuck. Tim Moore. Virginia, you know Virginia Fox, a legend. She is such a powerful woman. Pat Harrigan. Pat, thank you very much. Your Agriculture Commissioner, who I hear is excellent, Steve Troxler. Steve, thank you very much. Good job, Steve. You got plenty to do, right? Huh? More than you ever thought. North Carolina Speaker Dustin Hall. Thank you, Dustin. Thanks, Dustin. Very good. House Majority Leader Brendan Jones. Brendan, thank you very much. We're making progress, Brendan. State Representatives Dudley Green, Carl Gillespie. Thank you very much, fellas. Good. Good. Thank you very much. State Senators Kevin Corbin, Warren Daniel. Thank you. Thank you very much, Kevin, Warren. And County Commissioner Jennifer Best. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. So Hurricane Helene was one of the worst natural disasters in American history. It was far worse than it was even billed. I have never seen such water damage. It was largely water damage, wind damage, but water damage nobody's ever seen. I've been here, as you know, numerous times, but now I'm here in a position where we can do something, meaning I've been in office for 4 days, and I wanted to come sooner, but actually they had a little problem with getting logistically in here, but I would have been here even sooner. 104 North Carolinians at least have lost their lives. Is that now a fairly firm number, or are they still finding people? You know, what do you think? They're still finding people? Pretty much okay? It's a lot of people. 104 people lost their lives. 73,000 homes were severely damaged or destroyed. And I'll tell you, I've been to a lot of them, and this was like lots of hurricanes in one. I've never seen such damage done by water. And the water came, it was violent, and it left, and there was like nothing left. It's really pretty amazing. At one point, half of the emergency calls to FEMA went unanswered. That's real bad. FEMA was not doing their job. The city of Asheville went without running water for 2 months. A whistleblower testified that some FEMA employees refused to help people who displayed Trump signs on their property. I think that's true, isn't it? I read that. It's not nice. That's not too nice, is it? But whoever those property people were, thank you very much. Michael, is that true? That's not good, huh? About the property owners you put a Trump sign on and they wouldn't help? FEMA. Earlier this year, FEMA kicked 2,000 North Carolinians out of their temporary housing into below freezing temperatures. What was that all about? Is that, you know about that? What happened? Tell me.
We had an incompetent administration under Biden, and we had a disaster, and then we call it the disaster after the disaster. That was the FEMA response.
You had nothing but disaster since then. It doesn't matter at this point. Biden did a bad job. Some residents still don't have hot water, drinking water, or anything else, and many of them don't have quarters. They don't have anything. They got a stipend for what they lost, and we're going to take care of it. This is totally unacceptable, and I'll be taking strong action to get North Carolina the support that you need to quickly recover and rebuild. We're working on it very hard, and I think if Michael Whatley does half as good a job for North Carolina as he did for my campaign, we'll be very happy. Him and Laura were a very powerful team. So you think you can handle it, Michael? I don't know. I'm not sure, Michael. I think this is maybe in many ways easier, okay? Maybe easier. But you're going to lead the team. Do you want to say who the congressmen are that you want to appoint? Do you want to introduce them?
We have Virginia Fox, Chuck Edwards, and Tim Moore, whose districts encompass the area.
And they are the districts that were most severely impacted, right? You were affected then, Virginia?
Yes, lost my own driveway.
Really? No. I'll also be signing an executive order to begin the process of fundamentally reforming and overhauling FEMA, or maybe getting rid of FEMA. I think, frankly, FEMA is not good. I think when you have a problem like this, I think you want to go and, whether it's a Democrat or Republican governor, you want to use your state to fix it and not waste time calling FEMA, and then FEMA gets here and they don't know the area, they've never been to the area, and they want to give you rules that you've never heard about. They want to bring people that aren't as good as the people you already have. And FEMA's turned out to be a disaster. And you could go back a long way. You could go back to Louisiana. You could go back to some of the things that took place in Texas. It turns out to be the state that ends up doing the work. It just complicates it. I think we're going to recommend that FEMA go away. And we pay directly, we pay a percentage to the state. But the state should fix this. If the state did this from the beginning, it would have been a lot better situation. I think you guys agree with that, right? So I just want to say that Asheville, I know it well, it's a great place, so we're going to have it be a great place again. That was the one that was most severely affected. But North Carolina is going to come back bigger, better, stronger than ever before. And you're going to be very thankful. And you've already seen, I know that it really began 4 days ago, but you've already seen more action than you have in the last 3 months. And we're going to get it together. We're informing the Army Corps of Engineers to get going because you have a lot of river breaks and a lot of areas that you're going to need some pretty big work. And they're on their way. They're going to be working much harder than they've been working in the past, and we're going to take care of it. Any questions from the press of any of the congressmen, governor, anybody?
Sir, are you going to sign an executive order on FEMA, getting rid of it? Can you say more about signing an executive order to get rid of FEMA, please?
FEMA has been a very big disappointment. They cost a tremendous amount of money. It's very bureaucratic, and it's very slow. Other than that, we're very happy with them. Okay, and I think when there's a problem with the state, I think that problem should be taken care of by the state. That's what we have states for. They take care of problems. And a governor can handle something very quickly. You know, one of the things I've noticed, because I've been doing this for a while, and we had a pretty good FEMA, but I also noticed that when they come, they end up in arguments. They're fighting all the time over who does what. It's just not a good system. This system is so beautifully designed over 250 years approximately, you know, and we'll soon be celebrating the 250th year. It's going to be a very big celebration. But it's been designed very well, and we're going to leave it that way. When North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, when everybody knows the governor of Tennessee, I think, everybody? Do you know everybody here, pretty much? I never thought of it, but you're right over the ridge.
Right over the hillside.
So you're here to help. That's great.
The people in this region, including Tennessee, the people of Appalachia, are grateful that you are here and that you haven't forgotten it. And that there are other disasters, but this one was enormous for both North Carolina and Tennessee. So thank you.
You know, I've seen a lot of disasters, and when I came here right after, the day after. And when I came here, I couldn't believe it, actually. I couldn't believe the damage. And I've seen a lot of them. This was more like a tornado than it was what we witnessed. So we're going to get it very much taken care of. Good job. That's nice that you came. And so you call it you're right over the ridge, right, Tennessee?
Over the ridge, yes.
I like Tennessee, too. Let's see, where did I get more votes, Tennessee or North Carolina? I hate to tell you, North Carolina, it was Tennessee.
There's one of the counties in this disaster that had 88% for you. So
88%, yeah. No, it's the people are just incredible people. Yeah. So, do you have any questions, press?
Mr. President, you talked about conditions being placed on aid to California, voter ID, and the like. Are there any conditions that you're going to put on aid to North Carolina?
We're going to do a lot for North Carolina. You know, they've been very slow. I don't know why it's been so bad. This has been one of the worst I've seen. Katrina, of course, you know, was something that obviously that was a long time ago. That was not good. But this has been very slow. I don't know if that was for political reasons because they lost the state. You know, Biden lost the state. Maybe he felt he doesn't care. Maybe there were other reasons. I don't know. But this has been very slow. By any standard, this has been very slow. And we're gonna make up for lost time.
No conditions you're going to push for aid.
Well, in California, I have a condition. In California, we want them to have voter ID so the people have a voice, because right now the people don't have a voice because you don't know who's voting, and it's very corrupt. And we also want them to release the water. If they released the water, they wouldn't have had a problem. If they released the water when I told them to, because I told them to do it 7 years ago, if they would have done it, you wouldn't have had the problem that you had. You might not have even had a fire. So, but here I don't have that. It's a different thing. You got hit by a storm. The people are incredible. They worked really well. Franklin was fantastic, and other groups. By the way, other groups came in that were also fantastic, and other states came in. Tennessee and a couple of others came in, and they really helped. That's the way it's supposed to be. No, this is a different kind of a thing.
Mr. President, have you decided how much funding you would allocate for disaster relief in North Carolina?
About what?
Have you decided how much funding you would allocate for disaster relief?
I haven't. I have to see what it is.
Are you disappointed that Senator Schiff hasn't joined you on this trip? It's reported you invited Senator Schiff to join you on this trip and he was too busy. Are you disappointed?
I don't know. I was told that Schiff was going to travel with us to California. I wasn't thrilled, to be honest with you. And I saw him last night on television. It looks like he got hit with a baseball bat or something. What happened to him? Something happened to him. It looked like he got hit. It looked like he got beat around, but I'll ask Caroline to find out what happened to him. No, if he wanted to come out, I would have done that, but I don't know. Somebody said that he wanted to come on the plane, but I think he's staying back for the votes. There's some pretty good votes going on. Yeah.
Mr. President, what is your timeline for getting rid of FEMA?
For this one? For this one?
You just talked about possibly getting rid of FEMA. What timeline are you looking at, and how would you do that?
Well, we're looking here. Here you're talking about. To start, we're going to start immediately, timeline. And to finish, it's going to be a period of time. You know, people are also rebuilding their houses. How long does it take to build a house, right? It takes some time. And I want them to build houses bigger, better, nicer than they had before, so they can have, at least they get something out of this disaster. This was a real disaster. No, timeline will be fast. In terms of infrastructure, I think very fast. I want to thank Elon, because Elon was able to get us communication systems, as you know, Starlink. We had no communication. The first day I got here, I was asked by one of the people, one of the really great representatives, professionals, that is there any way you could get Starlink here, because they had no communication whatsoever. And I called up Elon Musk, and he had, you know, hundreds of units brought here, brought immediately. And it's hard to get. They couldn't get them before. And that made a lot of difference. I think it saved a lot of lives, actually. Yeah. Infrastructure-wise, we'll do it quickly.
Sir, can you just talk about how long you think it might take to get rid of FEMA? What's the timeline on that? If we're going to roll it back?
Yeah, I would say look, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not really thinking about FEMA right now here. I'm thinking about Michael Watley, and I'm thinking about the 3 Congress people that you just heard from, and also the other people in Congress, and they'll be working with the governor. They'll be working with the governor, so that's what I see.
Change the subject real quickly. The Laken Riley Act was signed by Speaker Johnson yesterday.
Right.
When do you anticipate to sign that into
Well,
office?
we're honored by that. Laken Riley, I was there at the time, and we had a big meeting with the parents right after that horrible thing took place. And we have an act. You all know what that act represents. And it was a bipartisan bill. Many Democrats signed onto it. That's something that is a tribute to Laken, a beautiful young lady who was killed viciously by an illegal alien. And we passed a very powerful bill, and it was just approved, and we'll have a ceremony sometime very shortly. I'll be signing it. In other words, if you're asking, I will definitely be signing it. Okay? Yeah.
Mr. President, the security detail for Anthony Fauci was terminated last night, and I'm wondering if you have any comment on that.
About what?
The security detail for Anthony Fauci was terminated last night, sir. Do you have a comment?
No, I think, when you work for government, at some point your security detail comes off. And, you can't have them forever. So I think it's very standard. If it would be for somebody else, you wouldn't be asking the question. The question is very fair. But, you work for government. We took some off, other people too. But you can't have a security detail for the rest of your life because you worked for government.
Taken off, sir?
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Would you feel partially responsible if something were to happen to, say, Dr. Fauci
No.
or John Bolton?
No. They all made a lot of money. They can hire their own security, too. All the people you're talking about, they can go out. I can give them some good numbers of very good security people. They can hire their own security. They all made a lot of money. Fauci made a lot of money. They all did. So if they,
Oh my God.
felt that strongly, I think that certainly I would not take responsibility.
Now, North Carolina is a state that relies on trade and manufacturing. Are you going to have an announcement on new tariffs coming soon? Is there a timeline now?
Yeah, the tariffs are going to make our country rich. We're going to be a rich, rich country very soon. Tariffs are going to make it rich, and competence. We have common sense, competence, and tariffs. The word tariff is one of the most beautiful words in the dictionary.
Now, Jonathan Reynolds, the business secretary of the United Kingdom, said that there's an even trade between the U.S. and the U.K., so they shouldn't have tariffs. Does trade imbalances or a balanced trade affect tariffs and your decisions?
Yeah, unbalanced and balance, and also deficits. Like with Canada, we lose $200 billion a year with Canada. That's because we allow them to make cars. We allow them to take lumber. We don't need their cars. We don't need their lumber. We don't need their food products because we make the same products right on the other side of the border. It's sort of crazy. So we've just allowed that, bad management has allowed it over the last 4 years in particular to become very imbalanced. And I said I call him Governor Trudeau, but he's Prime Minister Trudeau when he was Prime Minister. I asked him, why would we do that? Why? And he was unable to give me an answer. He said, I don't know. And I said, do you think it's fair that we're paying $200 billion to keep Canada going? And what would happen, I asked him, what would happen if we didn't do that, if we didn't subsidize Canada? He said, we'd be a failed nation. And I said, then you should be a state. Because why are we paying all of that money to Canada when, we could use it ourselves, right? So we take care of their military. We're going to order about 40 Coast Guard big icebreakers, big ones. And all of a sudden, Canada wants a piece of the deal. They say, why are we doing that? I mean, I like doing that if they're a state, but I don't like doing that if they're a nation. Also, they've been very nasty to us on trade. Historically, Canada has been very, very bad to us, very unfair to us on trade. So we'll see how it all works out.
So, the United Kingdom
I would
might be
love
the
to
better
see
spot.
Canada be the 51st state. The Canadian citizens, if that happened, would get a very big tax cut, tremendous tax cut, because they're very highly taxed. And you wouldn't have to worry about military. You wouldn't have to worry about many of the things. You'd have better health coverage. You'd have much better health coverage. So I think the people of Canada would like it, you know, if it's explained. But just to start off, they'd have a massive tax cut, and they'd have a lot more business, because then we'd let business go to Canada routinely, and there'd be no tariffs. You know, if we did that, there'd be no tariffs.
So the United Kingdom might be in a better spot then.
Reverend Franklin Graham has been a great asset to the state. Talk a little bit about the way Samaritan Purse has helped North Carolina.
Yes, say once again, the first.
Reverend Franklin Graham has been a big part of Samaritan Purse and their aid to North Carolina. Just want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, Franklin Graham has been a big asset to the state. His father was a big asset to the state, to the country, both of them. I just think this. I think Franklin and other people that are doing what Franklin have done. But you know, I've known Franklin so long. He was at the inauguration. He made a speech, beautiful prayer. He does a great job. And we made a big donation, and it was money well spent. Sometimes you make donations, it's not well spent. He's done a great job here. He's done a really great job. So I want to thank you. We're going to the site now, and one of the sites, and I think for those that haven't seen it, you won't even believe it, but not enough work was done. We'll get it done fast. And I can speak for the Republican congressman. We're going to knock it out, right? We're going to knock it out. And I think we take it very personally, because North Carolina was very unfairly treated, very, very unfairly treated. And it was obvious. It was too obvious. And we're going to make up for lost time. So thank you to the people of North Carolina. Thank you, everybody.
This man has been the president of the United States for 4 days. 4 days, ladies and gentlemen. He's already signed more than 42 executive orders, more than 200 actions. He's deployed officials to the southern border. He's declared a state of emergency at the southern border. He said he was going to do these things. He said he was going to declassify JFK, RFK, MLK files. He did that last night. The most transparent president of the United States. Very efficient, extremely hardworking. The speed is unbelievable. Right now, this man will go down as one of, if not the greatest president the United States has ever had. He promised to go to Asheville, North Carolina, during the campaign trail. And here you have him on the 4th day. Come on, yo. Everybody who voted for this guy, 77 million people plus 77.3 million people who voted for this man. They're looking and saying, thank God. Thank you, Lord Jesus, that I voted for this guy. This is one of the first politicians that would say, because now you could say he's a politician. I mean, he used to be a businessman. He's still a businessman. However, he's in politics now. He's playing the big boy game. However, this is the first time in history a person would campaign and make promises and actually get his promises done. Everything he said during the campaign trail, he's actually getting it done. It's not even up to 1 week yet. He said he was going to free J6ers. You may not agree with this man. You may say, I don't want you to free J6ers. However, he said he was going to do it, and he's done it. He said he was going to seal the border, and he's done it. He said he was going to get to the root of what happened in Asheville, North Carolina. Here he is in Asheville, North Carolina. He said he was going to go to California, and after this trip, he went to California. He said he was going to declassify MLK, RFK, MLK's files. Here we have it. So it's like, you may not agree with everything he stands for. I get it. Okay. However, he's doing exactly what he campaigned on. The last administration could never Matter of fact, they were not even doing press conferences. Biden couldn't even stay for 20, 30, 40 minutes and talk to the press. This man is inviting the press corps to go into the White House, into the Oval Office. Yeah, you could never do it. This man is just legendary. You could argue, you may hate him for whatever, but what he's done is incredible. Promises made, promises kept.
All right, good man. He's done a great job, fantastic job. And we've come to North Carolina with a simple message for all the people of this region who are hit so hard by Hurricane Helene. And that message is very simple. You are not forgotten any longer. You were treated very badly by the previous administration. And I'm here after a few days of the administration. We're going to California, Los Angeles. They got hit hard, as you know. A lot of that could have been prevented, I think, if they had water, which they had plenty of, but they didn't use it. But I'm going there, and it was set up to go there. They said, well, what about North Carolina? They said, well, what would you? I said, I have to stop there first. I'm stopping in North Carolina. So we made the stop, and I feel very good. You're represented by some great people, great congressmen are with us, and we're going to get involved with them. And Michael Whatley is here, who is the head of the Republican Party. He worked with Laura Trump to take us through to a tremendous victory. One of the, as the media says, one of the most consequential presidential elections ever. They say in 129 years, whatever that may mean. But whatever it is, it was a great election we had, and we won your state. All three times we won your state. And all three primaries we won your state. So we won it 6 times, I guess, Mr. Congressman. And it's a great place. And I wanted to come here. And before I went anywhere, frankly, in the campaign, I promised that I'd come back to Western North Carolina to help the people of the state. And today, here I am to deliver on that promise. And we have a lot of things in mind. And we're getting the Army Corps of Engineers all set. You need your riverbanks fixed. You need a lot of roads fixed. And we're going to get it done in rapid time. And I've asked Susie Wiles and all of my people to start calling up, get the Corps ready, and they're going to get ready to go. I don't know what it is. I don't know what took so long for the other administration. But remember, I wasn't here for the first 4 months or 3 months, whatever it may be. See, we can only start as of essentially 1 or 2 days ago, and we've made a lot of progress over the last couple of days, Michael. I understand we're going to get you the resources you need and the support that you deserve, and we'll be at your side through every step of the rebuilding, and no American is going to be left behind. The people that I just met are so great, and the people that own that house is going to be very beautiful in a little while. And who knows, if Franklin decides, maybe he'll rip it down and build him a new one, because sometimes you can do that just as easily, but we're going to take care of the people. I want to thank our great First Lady for coming today. She really wanted to be here. She said, no, I want to go. And, she sees what happened, and she felt very badly, and she wanted to go. And we're then going out together to Los Angeles, but she wanted to be in North Carolina. She saw what happened. She has a feeling like I do for North Carolina. So thanks as well to a great gentleman, Franklin Graham, and his father, Billy Graham. I used to go with my father to Yankee Stadium and places to watch his father preach. And he was some preacher. You got good stock. You come from the ultimate genes, I can tell you. But he was really something. And Franklin, though, has done so much, and his father's looking down on him right now. I guarantee for a long time he's been looking down on Franklin, saying, I'm very proud of you, son. He really is, because what Franklin's done with Samaritan's Purse is incredible. They told me just yesterday that Samaritan's Purse has been great, but the FEMA people sort of left you high and dry, but we're going to change that around. We're not happy with FEMA. As well as all of the representatives. You have great representatives here. Chuck Edwards, who's here someplace. Where's Chuck? Where's Chuck? Chuck. Tim Moore. Tim, thank you, Tim. Great job, too. Both of you guys. Virginia Fox, a power. She's a power, that one. Don't ever have her as your enemy. It's not good. It's not healthy. Pat Harrigan, Good job, Pat. Addison, McDowell, these guys were just here, just put in, and they're doing a fantastic job. Addison, thank you very much. Great. Mark Harris, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Brad Knott, thank you, Brad. Greg Murphy, fantastic guy, my friend for a long time now, right? And the RNC chairman, Michael Watley, who really, as I said, brought us to a great victory with Laura, the chairman of the party, the whole Republican. I took Michael Watley from North Carolina because he did the best job and put him in charge of everything, and the job they did together was incredible. Last September, Hurricane Helene became one of the deadliest natural disasters in modern American history. Rainfall rose to far more than 30 inches, which is lethal, unleashing unprecedented devastation throughout western North Carolina and many other states, as you know, but you got hit the hardest. The highest responsibility and deepest obligation of the American government is to protect its people, and that's never truer than in times of emergency like this. Unfortunately, our government failed you, but it wasn't the Trump government. It was a government run by Biden. What a terrible situation. But our government failed. The people of North Carolina in
You wanted to
this,
say what a F up.
horrible crisis. For 2 months, Asheville lacked running water, and even today, some North Carolinians can't take a hot water shower. They can't drink water. They don't know where to get it. It's delivered to them by some, or they just go out and somehow find some. It's been 4 months since the storm made landfill, and still 180 roads remain closed and in ruins. Earlier this month, the Biden administration kicked 2,000 displaced North Carolinians out of their temporary housing into freezing 20-degree weather. I don't know how they did that one, because it was cold, even while your government provided shelter and housing for illegal aliens from all over the world. But under the Trump administration, the days of betrayal and neglect are over. They are over. As I said in my inaugural address, we restore the integrity, competency, and loyalty of the American government. And I think I said most of it in the inaugural address. We said a lot of things, but one of the groups of people I was thinking about is you in North Carolina. A lot of that was in reference to you and what you've had to suffer. I'm pleased to announce that under our leadership, the federal government will be surging housing solutions to the state that go beyond mere temporary hotel stays that ended up being very short term. The government wouldn't do it any longer, which is ridiculous. We'll marshal all available resources to bring back potable water and make your water and infrastructure dramatically more reliable very quickly. Today, I'll also be signing an executive order slashing all red tape and bureaucratic barriers and permits to ensure the rapid reconstruction of the roads here in western North Carolina. We're going to go through a permitting process that's called no permitting, just get it done. That's the way they built them many years ago, I guarantee you that, right? We will get them back very quickly, and we'll begin the work of fundamentally changing, terminating, or overhauling FEMA. FEMA's been a disaster, no matter where they are. We're honored to be joined today very quickly by several families affected by the vicious storm. I'd like to ask each of them to share their story. Chris and Kim West, you could come forward. Ramona Nix, Jackie Mitchell, and Thomas Gary Bright. And finally, the Wright family. And come on up and maybe say a few words. Please, thank you very much. Hello.
Hi.
Come on in
here. Whenever it started, we started moving our vehicles to the top of the road, and by the time we got the vehicles moved, the water had already hit our ankles in the house. And so I grabbed my purse and my little pug dog, and my husband grabbed the dog food and put it in a trash bag, and by the time we got out into the driveway, it was already waist deep, and there was sticks and that kind of thing. I didn't think I was going to make it, but we did make it out, and we made it to the top of the road, and we were kind of stuck there for hours because we couldn't get out any of the ways because it was flooded all the way around. It took us hours, and we sat there, and finally it receded enough to where we could actually get out. It was probably like close to midnight, and it started like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. We just lost everything that we had. Didn't even have a brush for like 3 days. So, thank you.
Okay, good. Would you like to say something with that beautiful baby?
So, hey. Yeah, so when the hurricane storms hit North Carolina, hit our home, my daughter and my wife and I were actually out of town. But unfortunately, my dad was still at home, and my mother was staying at our house with our animals. And the waters got so high that it actually lifted between that and the tornado that came through, or microburst is what they've been calling them, and lifted his home and the house that I grew up in and crashed it into our barn. It took away his business. It took away all of our tools and tractors and everything needed to keep the farm going. And my mother was trapped in the house, and there was no way to escape because the water got so high. The only thing she could do was ride it out and wait till the waters came down. So we've been doing a little bit of battling with our insurance and FEMA. We did have proper insurance with flood insurance and homeowners insurance, but since we had proper insurance, FEMA's not been able to assist us with a whole lot of things. And again, we've been having some issues with trying to get some payout for our insurance in a timely manner. We had to do mold mitigation on our home, which is extremely expensive, before the structural engineer even came out in order to get our flood payout. And to me, that was not really acceptable.
Has the insurance company been responsive or not really?
Not so much. You know, again,
Give you the money they have to give you?
I'm hoping so. And we need some assistance with that. We reached out to an attorney.
What's the name of the insurance company?
North Carolina Farm Bureau.
You gotta move them, right?
Yep.
That's terrible.
That's what we're after here.
Are a lot
So
of people having that problem too, with the insurance companies, general, different insurance companies, and they're all difficult, or just the one particular one?
I've heard different stories from others, and a lot of folks are.
Responsive?
And I've heard some good instances of even Farm Bureau themselves, but in my case, you know, they'd send out a third-party adjuster immediately. Well, they wound up firing that third-party adjuster group. He gave us a quote for a much higher estimate than what we received.
And he got fired?
And then he got let go. Yeah, he got fired. So then they brought in another third-party adjuster to come in and lowball us. We've not received any kind of, so the flood insurance is our primary insurance, and so there was roof leaks in the home that the inspectors found, the adjusters. Well, that contributed to us losing some of our personal property as it come in the third story where there's no, or second story living space, where the flood water, well above the flood waters. So they've neglected us for.
Was your mother saved?
Yes, she's saved.
So
Yep.
she wrote it down?
She's right here.
Okay.
So we made it.
That was not exciting, right?
That's right.
How scared were you?
Very.
Did you think you were going to make it?
No.
You didn't think so?
Nope. I just started praying.
So you were sort of on a boat. Your house became a boat.
It's a big pontoon.
That's some story.
It was a
Would you
beach
like to
house
say
on
something?
the steps.
I'll bet this guy would like to say something. I can tell.
I was next door to the house, and my son was out of town, so when he came in to Charlotte to my sister's, he called about 2 in the morning because at midnight the water was still in the stream, within the banks. So when he called, the water was coming up, so I started moving vehicles up to about 5:30 in the morning, and she was in the house, and I pulled up to the steps and I said, hop on the fender and I'll get you out. Well, he built a beach house on stilts, 5 times higher than the floodplain, and she said, well, he said I'd be okay. So I'm staying with the dogs. So I went to higher ground with some vehicles, hers included, and the water covered everything. But I'd already seen it come around both sides of my place. So I got my blind and deaf dog and a bag of valuables and took up off the side of the hill behind my house, and then was heading to the cemetery back there because I knew it was open, because there was trees falling and uprooting. It was raining. It was,
You never saw anything like that?
no, I've been through floods
There's never been
all my life around there. Never nothing.
Never been anything like that.
Mm-mm.
But you're okay, right?
Yep. House destroyed.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna help you out. We're gonna help you out.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks for being here.
Anybody else? You guys okay?
Our day that morning began a little taller with some trees falling into our house, which our house is goes back 4 generations, 80 years, and never came close to flooding. And we woke up with trees about 4:30 or 5 in the morning, and our house sits 3/10 of a mile back off the road, and the water, we've had flooding and such in the lake, but nothing like we saw. And like most everybody else, we moved 5 vehicles this far up, and lawnmowers and everything else, and the water started coming in the house. And when it got up to about ankle high, we have a loft. I got her up in that and tried to gather what you might want, which was totally random. And then when it made it to the loft and started getting up to about her hips, I built a little makeshift ladder, and we got out on our roof. And we spent 4 hours on the roof. I had a little baggie. I did notes on my cell phone to my 2 kids and my 2 grandkids, and something to identify me in case we were lost in it.
Did you think you were going to make it?
No, we're.
Oh, you didn't?
Yeah, we didn't think we were going to make it at all. I mean, our house was 25 feet underwater.
So you didn't think you were going to live?
No, we were watching houses, trailers, bodies coming by us. And we live in the Azalea Road area in East Asheville. Yeah, we watched our garage float by.
Just lift up.
Yeah. But, we got to a point where it crested about 4 feet up on the roof. We took about 3 or 4 hours for it so we could kind of do everything in reverse, and got out in the mud to higher ground. And I got out higher ground up to a subway and got over to her daughter's house, where when she saw that I didn't have her, she lost it. And I was like, she's okay, she's alive. And we tried to make our way back in there and gather things best we could. But, found a body right away. There was about 8 bodies in our area that first 2 weeks located. And we were lucky we weren't one of them, and blessed. But like other people, no insurance on flood insurance, so we had to depend on FEMA. They did what they could do, and of course it's not enough. Yeah, that's crazy. But again, we're thankful to be alive, but it's a long haul.
What are you doing now?
Staying in a camper. I've never been, if y'all notice, I'm a big guy. I don't sleep in campers very well. And the first night we spent in the camper, very grateful with the Asheville Dream Center coming through with one. And
Do you still have the land?
oh yeah, it's family land. Yeah, the land, it looks like a beach now. It's sand, but
Can it be built on?
yes,
Do you intend to do that?
yes.
You want to build again?
Yeah, Samaritan's Purse. We're working with them. We're working with people. It's 80 years, 4 generations.
But the house is totally gone?
No, the house is there. It's down to they came in and mudded it, but everything in it was completely destroyed. But it's tough. I think we're at a point in Asheville where people's forgot about Asheville, and it's stagnant. Everything is stopped. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you. Thank you. Please.
I'm Pastor Nick's, our church right down the road. We had only purchased in May, and it's a big church. We're a small congregation, and I had people say, "What are you going to do with this big building?" And I said, "Only God knows." And we had our dedication, and the storm came the next week. and the outpouring of people. My son brought the first load of supplies, and from there, I stayed there for about 3 months. I slept on the floor for about 3 weeks because the need was so great. The people were so devastated, and I said, I want to be here for them. And they were coming in just day and night, so there's really no need for me to go home. But we had people from Kentucky, Tennessee, Texas, Indiana, Oklahoma, people from all over. We have not received any help, like from the government or anything. But I said, Lord, if you want us to do that, people.
So they came from
all over the states.
But FEMA did nothing.
It was
No.
the locals.
Wasted time and money.
The locals and the people that knew us. And before the week was over, our church was so packed with supplies we couldn't even walk. Even in our sanctuary, it was up to the platform of things, and in our halls and in our rooms, and we're just now beginning to get a little straightened out. But somebody said, how long are you going to be here? I said, I'm going to be here through the winter and even on, if possible, because when you meet people that's been through the struggle, I had a little lady come up, and I said, can we do anything special for you? And she said, I don't want to be selfish, but said, could I have a cup of coffee? And I handed her that coffee, and she stood there, and tears just poured. She said, you don't realize how important the little things. It's not the big things in life that we have, but it's the little things, and knowing that God is our source. I don't look to man. I don't have to have a lot of things. I had trees, about 20 trees down in my yard, but that didn't really matter. Doesn't matter, because the needs of the people is what I want to be there for. God is good. He's very good. And my daughter now, her house is really in bad shape, and I'll let her tell you about that. But thank you, President. This is our president. We appreciate you so much.
I live out in the Fairview area of North Carolina, and near the Bat Cave, Lake Lure area. And our area was hit. It was hit really hard. I was home alone, and my husband had stayed in town because we take care of a little lady that's 98 years old, and she lives out in the woods by herself. And I said, just stay with her and make sure that she's okay. And I got up the next morning, and my first thought was, I want to go see what our road and bridge looks like. So as I was making it down to the road and the bridge, there was no road and bridge. And so, here we are, we're like at a little island, we can't access the main road or anything. And then the fire department came by the next day and said that they were evacuating me and my neighbor because a landslide was going to come. And they told me to get my stuff and get ready. And so while I was getting my stuff and getting ready, there was a knock at the door, so I thought it was the fireman. And I went to the door, and there stood my 21-year-old son. His name's Nathan, and he had drove as far as he could to get to me, but he hiked 5 miles, and it took him a really long time. And he got there, and he said, Mom, grab a bag, we gotta go. And I said, son, there's no way I can hike out of here. And he's like, no. He said, we gotta go. So we started hiking out, and I seen one of my neighbors who, she had no clothes on. Her skin was like chunked up. It was just, she was blue. She had been in the waters, and where she had went or I don't know, but it horrific is just all I can say. But then as me and my son hiked on out, we went through where this place, we call it Craigtown, but there were like a lot of family members there that passed away, like 11 of them, and there were people out everywhere looking for their loved ones, and there were dead bodies. My son's like, Mom, you're gonna see things you don't want to see. And so anyway, we got through all that, but I stayed at our church in our sound booth. My husband and I, we just slept up in the sound booth for a couple of months because we didn't have power or anything for about 2 months out there. And then we have went back. I've been fighting with FEMA since day one. Our community, there's like 32 homes. We don't have a road and a bridge. We're driving through our neighbor's property. I went to EMS and I said, look, my concern is if we have a fire or we have an emergency out here, you're not going to get to us. You can't get those big trucks up here. And I've called and called and called FEMA, and I said this happened on September 27th. That's 4 months ago. Well, for us today is still September 27th. We haven't had help. And so when I talk to FEMA, I'm explaining the road and the bridge, and they send me a letter that tells me to basically fix it and send in my receipts, and they'll refund me some money. I'm looking at a road and bridge that honestly, the bridge itself is probably going to be $300,000, and the road could be close to that also, because the community has to have big boulders brought in. We're not a rich community. We can't fix it ourselves. It's just, and as far as like house repairs, I'm still pending. I can't get money from FEMA until I fix the road and bridge and send in my proof that it's fixed and everything. It's been a nightmare, and I totally feel like that we have been forgotten. If it had not been for our fellow American citizens who stepped up to help us, I don't know what we would have done. I have 5 neighbors around me who completely lost everything. I have damage to my house, and I don't feel entitled. I'm embarrassed to even say I need help, because and sometimes there's even that survivor's guilt is what they're calling it, but you feel guilty to even be alive sometimes. When you look around, you see your neighbors that are gone, and it's just, we need help. I wrote a letter to send to Congress. I don't understand what's going on. If we can't get FEMA help, then will you guys help us? Will you step up and be our fellow citizen? Will you step up and be our neighbor and send us something? Help us get our community back. I could go on. It's just I don't know, it's just heartbreaking. I appreciate you.
Good daughter you have, huh? Good daughter. Take care of Mom. And your son must be great.
My son is great.
No, he sounds like a real leader and smart.
He really is. Hike in.
How would you have been if he didn't come and get you?
I don't know. I'd just would have been there because the only thing we could do, there was no way to get out there. The only thing we could do is just hike up to the church, the first church that was up there, about 3 miles, to get, maybe what we needed or something. I don't know. He is. Thank you.
Well, again, thank you very much, everybody. So we're going to be here. We're going to be working with our congressmen and women, and they're going to do a job. And Michael Watley is going to be very much in charge, and you'll get it done. And FEMA's ready to rock. They haven't done the job because they weren't really told to do the job by Biden. I guess Biden was thinking about other things, wasn't he? But they weren't told. What they did, what the past administration did to North Carolina is a disgrace. So I just want to wish you all well. I was here right after the event, and I couldn't believe it. I have never seen anything like it. I've seen a lot of bad things, but I've never seen anything like it. And it's an honor to meet the people behind me, and it's an honor to be with our congressional delegation and some of the other politicians in the area. And it's an honor to have Michael Watley at my side, because maybe we wouldn't be standing here as president if he wasn't. Him and Laura Trump were unbelievable as the head of the Republican Party. So he happens to come from a place called North Carolina. So I said, Michael, fix it. So good luck. Good luck. And we'll supply what you need. You know that. Okay? Thank you. Thank you all very much. Thank you very much.
The commander-in-chief we never knew we needed. This is what the people voted for, and he's here doing exactly what he promised. There you have it.
Heartbreaking stories, and how there's been so many local groups stepped up to assist.
Yeah, that's one of the things you hear.
Any talk on having money instead of going to FEMA and go through the bureaucracy to go to them?
That's what I want to do. We want to bring it locally.
so that a state takes care of its problem, and then they can bring it down to a local level, like Samaritan's Purse and Franklin, because that's one of the better examples. But you had numbers of people that did a great job. You have groups that did a great job and organizations. The one that didn't do a good job was the government. They did a bad job. They did, in many ways, they did no job. They weren't even available. So, good question. The answer is we go local. I think it'll work much better. FEMA is a very expensive organization that really doesn't work out very well. It hasn't. This is not the only example. So it was up to me right now. It ended right now, and I just let the state take care of the problem. I mean, you can always have problems. Let the state, if it's Florida, it's a hurricane, let Florida take care of it. They don't need FEMA to come in. Yeah?
Is it within FEMA, outside of FEMA?
Yeah, I envision a very important role for him. It's any role he wants. He's a very capable guy, Michael Watley, a very capable guy, and he's friends and works with these guys, keeps them elected, right? They have to do a good job. Otherwise, no matter how good Michael is, not going to work. But they've done an amazing job. They've been great. You're lucky you have great congressmen here. And woman, by the way, a great woman, very powerful woman. They're going to do a great job. They'll do it together. They'll work together, and we'll supply what they need as they need it. We'll coordinate that, and we will immediately get the Army Corps, Michael, because you need roads built. You know, we're talking about the bridge. We're talking about roads and things. So we got to get them built, all right? Okay? Thank you all very much. Thank you very much.
Said it was going to come here, and here you have it. He is here. All right, for the people saying that, what is going on at the border? What is going on? Let me show you what's going on. The legend. Promises made, promises kept. Check this out. On Truth Social, this is what is going on right now, y'all. This is today. This was about 2 hours ago. Okay. Take a look. Hey. Said it was going to do this. It said it was going to make sure he declares a state of emergency at the border. This is what you get. The legend, the OG, the 45th, now the 47th. Look at the border. Did you ever think your border would look like this? No, you didn't think so, did you? He's in North Carolina right now. He's going to California. Look at what is going on at the southern border. In 4 days, y'all. In 4 days. This ain't. Yeah. In 4 days, ladies and gentlemen. I am proud to say that I voted for Donald Trump. I am proud. Okay, call me whatever you want to call me. But I am proud to say I voted for Donald Trump. An efficient, capable person. He promised, and this is what you get. Promises made, promises kept. Legend. Legendary. Late. Just legendary, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I can say. Just 4 days, all of this is already happening. They've started building the wall again at the southern border. Come on, yo. 77.3 million Americans who voted for this man. They're happy right now. Everything he promised on the campaign trail, in 4 days, he's almost done with it. I don't think he needs 4 years, ladies and gentlemen. He may be done in 2 years. He may be done long. All right, CNN. Here we go. CNN has something to say. You know it.
These are basically his friends. They're people that,
All right, here we go.
want to buddy up with him. But he took a pretty combative tone, I thought.
At Davos, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's the elite gathering, and he didn't go. Actually, just to be clear, he was.
Yeah,
he
it was a video.
Piped in essentially. You know, I've been to Davos once, and I never really liked it because I feel like it's rich people licking each other up and down all day. But I think there probably will be more resistance than you think from some of those world leaders because I don't think they like being lectured to necessarily. Although all of them.
Just don't understand how you would be an American and then you wouldn't support your commander in chief. If your commander in chief is trying to make your country strong, reliable, dependable, why wouldn't you just support that initiative? Why wouldn't you support that? Oh, I think you're not going to succumb to Trump. Why wouldn't you just support a man who has proven himself to be capable? In 4 days, he's done more than Joe Biden has ever done in probably 50 years.
Sort of have been doing the reach out. Bill Gates was saying, who didn't like him before, said, and gave money to Kamala Harris, was saying, I was impressed when I had dinner with him. And same thing with Jamie Dimon and everybody else. So they're talking the talk. I'm not so sure European leaders will do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, one of the interesting things about that is that
Oh my goodness. Remember when the Mexican president, she said, there's no way we're going to stop people from crossing the border. Matter of fact, we're never going to change the Gulf of Mexico. It's been the Gulf of Mexico. Now she's saying, you know what? She even made a campaign video for Mexicans to come back to Mexico. She made a campaign video, y'all, because everybody thinks they're going to strong arm Trump until he actually stands in front of you and tell you this is what you're going to do, or he makes a statement. You can nobody wants smoke. Like everybody could talk, but nobody truly wants smoke with Trump. Nobody. You could act like you want some smoke, but when it is time for some smoke, you can't stand the smoke. That's why all of this that they're talking about right now, what European leaders are not going to succumb. They will 1,000% succumb because there's nothing else they can do. What do you think they're going to do? There's nothing else. They're going to succumb to the legend, to the OG, because he has the charisma. He has the strength. Straight up.
didn't leave off the culture war stuff. He bundled it in with the tariffs and the oil and gas prices and the interest rates. I mean, it was a classic Trump campaign speech, but said before the leaders of some of the biggest corporations in the entire world.
You know what I think? I don't think, unlike a lot of people, I don't think President Trump is very smart, but I do give him credit for one thing. He's cunning. And if you ever remember the movie Analyze This, he's talking about the mafia guys. He goes, these guys aren't smart like you are, doctor, but they're cunning. They smell weakness. So sometimes I think that with Donald Trump, when he's doing this, he's throwing things out there just to see who he can pinch on and pull on and pick on, because he smells the people that are going to bend the knee, and then he draws those people in and they bend the knee.
That's probably not a bad assessment, honestly, in terms of Trump's ability to sense people who he needs to dominate.
That is true. I mean, there's no question that that's part of the negotiating process. But these are world leaders. These are business leaders. These are the people that America needs to bring in if we're going to bring jobs back here. And as Jamie Dimon said, I mean, get over it. You know, when he talked about tariffs.
Let me play that Jamie Dimon sound just so people know what you're talking about. Listen.
I look at tariffs, they are an economic tool. That's it. They're an economic weapon, you know, depending how you use it and why you use it and stuff like that. And, you know, people argue, is it inflationary and non-inflationary? I would put in perspective, if it's a little inflationary, but it's good for national security, so be it. I mean, get over it. National security trumps a little bit more inflation, but I think the question is how they get used.
Jamie Dimon doesn't worry about inflation, does he?
Jamie Dimon doesn't have to sit there and worry about the price of, I don't know, groceries, the price of gas, the price of anything.
Your washing machine, whatever.
Because he's at an all-time high right now.
Because he's Jamie Dimon,
bird
right.
flu and everything.
Well, energy was one of the things they brought up too. I mean, by bringing.
The fact is, for the past 4 years, everything has skyrocketed. Everything went up, from gas to groceries, the cost of living, everything went up. These same people had nothing to say. If everything was so great, if everything was so awesome, why did Trump win the election? If everything was so wonderful and Biden was the great president that they all lie about and say he's like one of the greatest president of this generation, why is Kamala not the president as of today? Why isn't Kamala the president of the United States? You know why? Because the people are fed up. People are tired. People want relief. Okay? People want a better economy. People want a sealed border. People are tired of sending money to other countries like Ukraine, funding wars that you don't even know how it started. This is why Trump is the commander-in-chief. This is why. He's done more than Biden has done in the past 50 years. Matter of fact, I don't know what you could point to that Biden did for the past 4 years. If you ask Democrat, traditional Democrat, they're going to tell you, well, he signed the CHIPS Act. Okay. And yet we're still looking for chips. Isn't this just wow? He didn't stop the Ukraine war. Trump hasn't stopped the Ukraine war. The hostages from Hamas, they're back here. They're back here. He's been in for 4 days. 4 days, y'all. Relax. 4 days. He's had all of this done in 4 days. Just relax. He's going to get the job done. People are saying, well, my eggs are still expensive. The gas prices are still high. He's only been in for 4 days. You had a walking dead for the past 4 years. Relax. This man was literally walking into the Amazon rainforest to talk to jaguars. Like sleeping on world stage, sleeping in Angola. Literally falling off stairs, falling off bikes, sleeping on the world stage. Y'all didn't have nothing to say. Now you have a competent, strong figure in the White House. Y'all don't have nothing to say exactly. You're still going to have something bad to say about Trump. Why? You don't like him because he's securing your border? You don't like him because he doesn't want war? He doesn't want to fund wars? You don't like him because he's trying to make the economy strong? Why don't you like him exactly?
Bring down the cost of energy, we're going to bring down the cost of goods. And I think that's one of the things that he talked about today was, advising Saudi Arabia and the OPEC nations that we're going to be producing enough oil and natural gas that we'll be able to not only supply our own companies, but be able to supply overseas as well.
Look, Abby, the bottom line is he's capturing the moment, right? He's capturing the moment. He just became the president of the United States the second time. He got the popular vote, which he worked very hard campaigning in the Bronx, which he knew he was never going to win.
and all over New York, but he wanted that popular vote. And he has it. And look how aggressive he just was. And he won. Like, it was obvious Kamala Harris.
Just look at her. Oh my goodness. These people are just so sorry. They don't understand how Trump won, even with the FBI raid on his home, even with the indictment, even with 2 assassination attempts on his life. He still won. So it's like, how did he win? How is he the president of the United States? Because you had a very incompetent man that you folks lied about for the past 4 years. And then you want to give us another lie? Kamala Harris talking about you've been unburdened by what has been. You think Americans are going to fall for that? No. Americans are not going to fall for that. This is why I voted for Trump. You can cry, you can argue. Genesis is not even a United States citizen. Look at do you hear his accent? Well, newsflash. Elon Musk was born in Pretoria, South Africa. Okay. Is Elon Musk a United States citizen? Yes, he is. Just because you weren't born in the United States, there's something called naturalization. Okay. Of course, you're not educated enough to understand that there's something called naturalization, and that makes you a United States citizen. Okay. Because when you come into the United States legally, you come through Homeland Security, and then you come through USCIS to get your United States citizen. What do you expect? What do you expect? You think I'm going to be like, oh, Lord, Trump is going to deport me? I am legal. All right. I studied, I waited my turn for 5 years to become a United States citizen. I love the United States. This is the greatest country in the world, the greatest nation on earth. You can cry in your mom's basement and say, Genesis, look at you. Or join greatness.
Not going to govern that way. She was going to be more of a statesperson, and he's going to be more of, here I am, America's back, and I'm going to steamroll, and you guys need me. Europe, you need me. And he's going to try to do the best for his administration and for his country as he can. That's his style. It's not my style when I'm in a courtroom, but that's his style, and he's going to execute it.
Did you notice what you just said? You said he's going to do the best for his administration and his country.
Right. The way President Biden did for his administration.
No,
the way
President Biden did it for the country.
Like that's just not accurate.
Of course.
Oh, God. President Biden did it for the country, yet he pardoned his son, pardoned his entire family, pardoned Fauci, pardoned Liz Cheney because Liz Cheney jumped on the wagon with Kamala Harris. What are you doing? I mean, like, why are people just like this? When you hear the facts, just understand that this is the facts. Joe Biden said he was never going to pardon Hunter Biden because Hunter Biden was innocent, right? And because he believed in the Department of Justice, he believed in a jury of his peers. Guess what happened? On Thanksgiving last year, he pardoned Hunter Biden. 5 minutes to get into Air Force One and, well, whatever it's called, to get out of the Capitol in D.C., he pardoned his entire family. Why would he pardon his entire family, his son, if they were innocent? Oh, because Trump is going to target them. Yet, this same man, I'm going to play you that clip. Just wait. Stay here with me. I'm going to play you that clip, okay? I am going to play you the clip where he said he was never going to pardon his son. Keep watching. People are going to lie and say, well, you know, Joe Biden, he did it for the country. No, what did he do for the country? The country voted him out. They voted his vice president, Kamala Harris, out. Because they had the highest groceries, the highest gas prices, the highest mortgage rates in years. most unsecured border in years. He did it for the country. Yes, that's why the country voted him out. If Trump was so bad, why is he the president of the United States right now?
What I would prefer, and I think a lot of Americans would prefer, is that someone that stood up there was thinking about not what was best for them or their administration or their cult of personality, but what's best.
But in his
for
mind,
their
it's the same
country.
thing. In his mind, the people who elected him and the people who he has surrounded himself with are people who believe what he just said. They believe in the tariffs.
Arthur.
They believe in a strong America. They believe
Talk
in
your talk, dog.
$1 trillion being invested in America.
Talk
from
your
Saudi
talk,
Arabia.
dog.
But listen, have you heard like what he says?
Man, please.
MBS is a great guy.
Nobody
right?
cares, though.
Kim Jong-un is a great guy.
I don't think he said he's a great guy lately.
Kim Jong-un, he's been
He said I had a good relationship with him.
No, actually, I think he said they were like best friends and writing love letters to each other, but that's neither here nor there. What he's not doing is treating our allies, the people that have helped us sustain the Pax Americana since 1945, the people who have traded with us, who've given intelligence to us, who went to Afghanistan with us because they're our NATO allies. He treats them like garbage.
I think the
And you
Prime
saw that
Minister of
today.
Italy is pretty happy with
The
Mr. Trump. I think the
I don't
President
think
of Argentina is pretty happy
Well, the
with
President of
Trump.
Argentina and listen, the Prime Minister of Italy and the President of Argentina are very Trump-esque.
Yeah. I heard you. Yeah. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, y'all. Nobody cares. All right, let me get you that clip that showed President Joe Biden talking about he wasn't going to pardon his son and his entire family. Here we go.
Joe Biden told us he would never pardon his family, and yet he did all of them. Joe Biden said, oh, there's no pardons needed. We just heard it for folks who were involved with the January 6th committee, and yet he did it. So Joe Biden did exactly.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? This is too funny, y'all. This is too funny, yo. Y'all listen to this, okay? Because I know you guys would enjoy this. Okay, for the Democrat in the chat and for the Joe Biden, I guess, fans or supporters and Kamala Harris voters, listen to this.
Prosecuted for, and what was he trying to hide? And by the way, where's the outrage from the left and the state-run legacy media mob? They sure were singing a very different tune when the thought was out there that Donald Trump may do preemptive pardons. Let's take a little trip in the Capitol down memory lane, shall we?
Have you ever heard of somebody getting a preemptive pardon who was innocent of all crime? Who's just an innocent person? Have you ever heard of that? Just somebody getting a blanket pardon and they're an innocent person?
But no, here it's an effort not only to prospectively pardon people for things they have not yet been charged with and may never be charged with, but also it's the president's own family.
The president's reportedly asking his staff whether he can issue preemptive pardons for himself, his family members, Rudy Giuliani. There's a simple answer: no. No, Mr. President, that would be a gross abuse of the presidential pardon authority.
That all comes as we continue to get new reports, even tonight, that President Trump, as he winds down his last few weeks in office, is considering preemptive pardons for all his adult children, including his son-in-law, Jared. What a mess.
Does this concern you? All these preemptive pardons?
Well, it concerns me in terms of what kind of precedent it sets and how the rest of the world looks at us as a nation of laws and justice. You're not going to see in our administration that kind of approach to pardons.
There you have it. He said he would never do those types of pardons. And mind you, Trump never pardoned any of his immediate children. He never pardoned Don Jr., Eric, any of them. He only pardoned his father-in-law. One person. This man, Joe Biden, pardoned his entire family. Yeah, we're going to have to check that one more time.
and the state-run legacy media mob, they sure were singing a very different tune when the thought was out there that Donald Trump may do preemptive pardons. Let's take a little trip in the Capitol down memory lane, shall we?
Have you ever heard of somebody getting a preemptive pardon who was innocent of all crime? Who's just an innocent person? Have you ever heard of that? Just somebody getting a blanket pardon and they're an innocent person?
But no, here it's an effort not only to prospectively pardon people for things they have not yet been charged with and may never be charged with, but also it's the president's own family.
The president's reportedly asking his staff whether he can issue preemptive pardons for himself, his family members, Rudy Giuliani. There's a simple answer: no. No, Mr. President, that would be a gross abuse.
Okay, guys, so I just saw a comment in the chat. It says Trump doesn't have to pardon anyone because Biden would never go after them for retribution. So why did FBI raid Trump's home? Why was he indicted? Why did he have to go from the courthouse to the campaign grounds? Why did he have to go through all of this for 4 years? He got impeached twice as a sitting president. The first time in history where you have a president who was banned from Facebook, from Instagram, from Twitter at the time. The reason why Elon Musk bought Twitter was because what sort of country would ban their commander-in-chief on a social platform? And you say it's a democracy. Well, it's a republic, actually. But you ban this person because he says the truth. Well, now Elon has X, and it's up, y'all. It's up and it's stuck, y'all. To the extent that this man had to start his own social media. He had to create Truth Social. Do you know what determination you must have to say, you know what, you can ban me, you can do whatever you want to do, but you can never keep me quiet because I would never quit. I would never stop. I am going to keep coming at you. This is what Trump did. He went back to work. He went back to the drawing board and he came back. He created his own social media platform. People are still going to hate. I get it. But he's back as your 47th, and there's nothing you can do about it. Sit back, enjoy the great economy, enjoy this greatness, or stay in your mom's basement, yo.
Of the Presidential Pardon Authority.
That all comes as we continue to get new reports, even tonight, that President Trump, as he winds down his last few weeks in office, is considering preemptive pardons for all his adult children, including his son-in-law, Jared. What a mess.
Does this concern you? All these preemptive pardons?
Well, it concerns me in terms of what kind of precedent it sets and how the rest of the world looks at us as a nation of laws and justice. You're not going to see in our administration that kind of approach to pardons.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Oh, isn't that nice? The funniest part of that, though, had to be Adam Schiff, right, your old friend? Because he got one of the pardons that he said nobody should have. Anyway, leading that effort would be our next guest to investigate all this, the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Jim Jordan, and the chairman of the House Oversight Committee. These guys have done phenomenal work. James Comer has a best-selling book out about the Bidens. Thank you both. How much money did the Biden family make?
The family took in $27 million from our adversaries around the world. They never could say, even when we brought them in for depositions and interviews, what they actually did to receive the money. Then we found, going through their bank records, that they had another $8 million in loans that they never paid back, never paid any interest on or anything. So that's $35 million.
I want that loan. Can I have that?
Yeah, right. Wouldn't we all?
I think everybody here would like that. And you expose all of this. Now, I would argue that he forgot one person. Himself.
Well, you know, that what we said in our investigation was that we found 10 different Biden family members, including Joe Biden, profited from the influence peddling schemes. The money would come from a wire from a foreign adversary, usually a foreign oligarch, In some cases, we believe the country of China.
An oligarch. Didn't Joe Biden warn us about oligarchs? Aren't there Elena Baturina, wasn't she an oligarch?
Yes.
The guy in Kazakhstan, the people in Ukraine, the people in China.
Romania.
A lot of oligarchs the Bidens are friends with.
The money would then go through a series of shell companies. Then it would be laundered down. And then the 10 different Biden family members would receive incremental payments. And ironically, 6 of the pardons came from family that received payments that had been laundered. This isn't my word, Sean. These are the words of 6 different banks. They were laundering money through shell companies that the Biden families received. He pardoned them preemptively, and the only place in the world the spouses were ever named was in our investigation in the Oversight and Judiciary Committee. We named those spouses by name. The media, other than your show, Sean, and thank you for being the platform to get this out. Thank God your ratings are higher than MSNBC and CNN combined.
Oh, thank God, too.
The American people.
I second that. Yeah.
The American people saw it.
Thank you. You guys did the digging, the hard work, and you exposed the Peter Schweitzer deserves a lot of credit, too.
Absolutely.
He wrote the book Secret Empires. President Trump signed this weaponization of government has to stop. Also revoking 51 former intel officials that knew nothing about Hunter's laptop and tried to interfere in an election. Jim Jordan, you were there. You investigated every part of this. Didn't Hunter's laptop talk about half his income going to Pops?
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't there a WhatsApp message to the
big
head
guy,
of the CEFC?
Yeah. Right.
Didn't Joe's home repairs get paid for by Hunter Biden, according to emails with their economic guru, Eric Sherwin, if I'm not mistaken?
Yep. All that took place. But what I really think was important today is President Trump did what he said he would do when it came to pardons and people, the defendants of January 6th, and Joe Biden didn't. Joe Biden told us he would never pardon his family, and yet he did all of them. Joe Biden said, oh, there's no pardons needed. We just heard it for folks who were involved with the January 6th committee, and yet he did it. So Joe Biden did exactly opposite what he told us he was going to do. President Trump kept his word, did exactly what he said. I think that's the big takeaway from the actions we see from both the outgoing president and, of course, our new president.
Here's the big question. Is this over? Because my understanding, Alan Dershowitz's understanding, is once you get a pardon, you no longer have the Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. If they go before your committees, every one of these pardoned family members, don't they have to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help them God?
There's a number of things we want to look at. Everything's on the table. But I really think one of the keys is the report we got just right before, just a few weeks ago, was with the 26 confidential human sources. 26 confidential human sources here on January 6, 2021, 17 inside restricted space, 4 in the Capitol. 2 of those 4 in the Capitol were tasked to be here by the FBI. I think there are all kinds of questions we have for those individuals.
I have 5 people that said Trump authorized the use of the Guard days before. So did the Capitol Police Chief, by the way, begging for the National Guard. In writing, Muriel Bowser denied the use of the National Guard. It was her authorization. Pelosi did nothing. They never brought in the Sergeant of Arms. Liz Cheney needed hers, in my view, too.
Not to mention the number of false things that committee put out on me, on you, on so many people.
Me? Little old me?
Yeah, exactly. So, I think there's some unanswered questions we have to get to there. So we will look at that.
And you'll do that, too?
Absolutely.
All right. You guys have been rock stars.
There you have it. Lies on lies. Biden said he wasn't going to, and he did. Trump said he was going to free J6ers on day 1, and he did. He's doing exactly what he campaigned on. I can respect that.
Okay, so will the tax cuts be permanent? No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. And explain, when you talk about all of this money under our feet, and the golden era of America, and energy, drill, baby, drill. How do you get these companies to invest billions? And how quickly are they going to extract this energy and maybe supply Western Europe? Because I agree with you. It's money that will save this country.
We have more oil and gas than any other country, and we're going to have more. And with Anwar, which he ended, Anwar is the biggest. Anwar that's in Alaska, could be as big or bigger than Saudi Arabia. We have more than any other country. It's a great thing. It's a great asset because China doesn't have that. I mean, China does not have that. They have to go out the old-fashioned way and buy it. We have more than anybody. We're going to become a wealthy country again, and energy is going to lead the way. But there'll be other things also, tariffs, because tariffs, we were our wealthiest in the 1890s, okay? And by the way, we're going to rename Mount McKinley into Mount McKinley because he was a great president from Ohio, he was a senator from Ohio. He was a very successful businessman who believed strongly in tariffs. He ran for the Senate, he won. He ran for the presidency, he won. He was ultimately assassinated in his second term, but he made the country very rich. And Teddy Roosevelt then came along, and I'm not knocking Teddy Roosevelt, but he spent the money that was made during the McKinley years, and he did, a lot of great things, like building the Panama Canal. The most expensive thing, the most expensive thing we've ever built is the Panama Canal.
And you're serious
and
about...
And unfortunately, Jimmy Carter gave it away for $1. Oh, no, we're going to have to take it back. China is running the Panama Canal right now. That wasn't the deal.
And
it should have never been given. But the deal was not that China is going to run the Panama Canal.
If we became energy dominant and we provided all of Western Europe with our energy, wouldn't that help bankrupt Putin, number one? He wouldn't be able to fund his wars. And number two, and I think that would make the world a safer place. And the amount of money we're talking about, would America become the single most energy wealthy country in the world? And what would that mean for paying down our debt, saving
We
Social
could supply
Security?
the whole world with energy. That's what we have. For hundreds of years, we could supply the whole with, at this moment, the best energy because natural gas is clean and it's powerful. You need power and it's consistent, not like wind. The wind blows and then it doesn't blow and the things cost a fortune. They're made in China and they kill the birds and they're horrible. We don't want windmills in this country. We're putting an order out. I've already sort of done it. We don't want windmills. If you have a house and you're in vision of a windmill, your house is worth half. It's a disaster. And nobody wants them, and they're the most expensive energy of any kind of energy. You know what else people don't like? Those massive solar fields built over land that cover 10 miles by 10 miles. I mean, they're ridiculous, the whole thing. And by the way, you know where the panels come from? 100% of the panels, they're made in China. They're made in China.
You had a call with President Xi. We have three top geopolitical foes. We have Russia, China, and Iran. I want to ask you about all three. You put out a statement on Putin today. We'll get to that. But let's start. You had a conversation with President Xi. We have problems with them. They have territorial ambitions with Taiwan, intellectual property theft, their unfair trade practices. How'd that conversation go?
It went fine. It was a good, friendly conversation. I had a great relationship with him prior to COVID. I had a very good relationship with him. I thought it was a very good conversation. We've had other communication before that. They are a very ambitious country. He's a very ambitious man. He's a man that was, I don't want to be naive and say my friend, but he was like my friend. We had a very good relationship. I had a very good relationship with Putin also. I would say Iran is a different story. I will be honest with you. Iran is a whole different thing. That's a religious deal that is very dangerous.
That's theocracy.
Very, very dangerous. It's a very dangerous situation. That could be a big problem. You know, with Kim Jong-un of North Korea.
Do you think you could make a deal with Xi? Do you think that you can prevent Xi from his territorial desire to take Taiwan? Can you make a deal with him on making more fair trade practices? Because I know you. When you say...
No, I can do that because we have something that they want. We have, with a pot of gold. Don't forget, we paid, you know what we lost to China last year? $1 trillion. $1 trillion because of their stupidity with their trade policies. Now, I put tariffs on China We took in hundreds of billions of dollars, and Biden was unable to end them because it was so much money you couldn't do it in terms of the budget. He wanted to end them. He did everything he could to end them. He couldn't get it done. But we have one very big power over China, and that's tariffs. And they don't want them, and I'd rather not have to use it. But it's a tremendous power over China. China gets a lot of its money from the United States. They use that money to build a military. Isn't it crazy?
How come
And
they
so
have
we have a lot of
hypersonics
power.
and Russia has hypersonics? We don't. Are you ready?
Because during Obama's administration, they stole the design for Russia stole the design. They got it from
us.
Some bad person gave them design. It was our job. Now, I authorized the building of hypersonic, and we're doing super hypersonic, actually, which is even a step better. But and we'll have them starting fairly shortly. But Russia got them, and they built them, whereas they stole them during the Obama administration. Obama, not Biden, not anyone else. They probably stole plenty from Biden. We'll hear about that, too. But they stole the hypersonic stuff, and they made hypersonic missiles.
Will we have the resources for the next generation of warfare? I don't believe we're going to fight future wars on battlefields. They're going to be fought in air-conditioned offices.
Much different. Well, I don't know. I heard you say that last night. They're going to be fought. They're going to be fought in a lot of different ways, including offices. But
you don't quite
very
agree
big
with me.
things are becoming drones now. Drones are becoming more important than jets.
Push a button.
I said the other day to somebody with great knowledge who actually were bringing into the administration, I was saying a certain type of fighter jet that I really like. He said, well, it's good if you don't like the pilot that flies it because the chances of him coming back are very small.
All right, let's go. You sent out.
In other words, technology is changing.
And we have to be in the front of it.
We have to be.
And you said that about AI, which I believe is brilliant. You put out a truth on Vladimir Putin today.
Yeah.
You seem to have had a relationship with him and you've talked about ending this war in Europe. And you want to end it quickly. How quickly can it end?
Should end immediately. Should have never started. That would never have started if I were. I used to talk to Putin about it. Ukraine was the apple of his eye, but there was no chance that he would ever do it. And he didn't do it. For 4 years, he didn't do it.
Have you spoken to him?
I don't want to say, but I will tell you, it's got to end. And if you look at I'm just talking from a human life. I don't care, Russia, Ukraine, US. These are human beings that are just being slaughtered on this battlefield by the millions. They've already died in cities. The cities are like demolition sites. Many people died. One thing with the Ukraine war, you're going to find many more people died than think. This is a war that should have never started. Biden did a horrible, horrible job in allowing that war to start. It should have never started. It would have never started. It wasn't even tough from that standpoint. One thing, so he allowed energy to go up, way up. If he brought it down, the war wouldn't have started because Putin wouldn't have had the money. Putin makes all his money on energy. And Biden let it go to a record, and Putin had so much money, he was able to do it. So, but that's only one thing. That wasn't even the biggest reason. What was said at the time was so bad. I said, he's going to drive that guy into doing this.
A minor incursion? When he
Well, he
said
used the word minor incursion. That
And
was
don't.
bad. But he said things worse than that. And Putin shouldn't have done it, too. I mean, I'm not blaming only one. Putin shouldn't have done it. He shouldn't have done it, and it has to stop. Do you know they've lost about 850,000 Russian soldiers and 700,000 Ukrainian soldiers?
And the Ukraine has been devastated.
Devastated.
Will it be a negotiated settlement, and will you lead the negotiation?
Well, I hope so. And I put out a truth today that's really strong, and I mean it. And if they don't do that, I'm going to put massive
Explain. If
tariffs.
they don't do what?
If they don't settle this war soon, like almost immediately, I'm going to put massive tariffs on Russia and massive taxes and also big sanctions. And I don't want to do that. You know, I love the Russian people. They're great people. I don't want to do that. But we got to get this war ended. And if they don't make a settlement like fast, and Zelensky, I will say this, he wants to settle now. He's had enough. He shouldn't have allowed this to happen either. No. You know, if he's no angel, he shouldn't have allowed this war to happen First of all, he's fighting a much bigger entity, okay? Much bigger. When he was, talking so brave and so. Now, two things happened. They were brave, but we gave them billions of dollars. The United States spent $200 billion more than Europe. Why did we spend more? You know why? Because Biden never asked Europe to spend more. They spent $200.
It became a U.S.-Russia proxy war because of Joe.
Zelensky was fighting a much bigger entity, much bigger, much more powerful. He shouldn't have done that because we could have made a deal, and it would have been a deal that would have been a nothing deal. I could have made that deal so easily. And Zelensky decided that I want to fight. They have 30,000 army tanks. Russia has 30,000 army tanks. Zelensky had none, practically. You don't fight those. Now, then we started pouring equipment, pouring. And they had the bravery to use the equipment. But in the end, that's a war has to be settled. So the field is interesting because it's very flat. It's great farmland, okay? It's very flat. There's no protection. The only thing that's stopping a bullet that gets shot, they can go for miles, is a human body. And they're being hit left and right. And they're losing millions of people. Young, beautiful people are dying on the battlefield. And it's got to stop.
Zelensky did say for the first time that he would be open to a negotiated settlement.
He says that. He should have said that a long time ago.
You put Iran in a different category. I keep reading and I talk to my sources.
Well, they're religious zealots. It's different.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
When I came in, I met with Obama. Right there, we sat. And we talked. I said, what's the biggest threat? North Korea.
You guys were yucking it up in the church service.
Yeah, we were. Someday I'll tell you what we said.
Someday you'll tell
me.
No,
we had a nice time. But he said North Korea is the biggest thing. And I solved that problem. And I got along with him. He's not a religious zealot.
Will you reach
he
out
happens
to him?
To be a smart guy. Kim Jong-un is a smart guy.
You'll reach out to him again.
I will. Yeah.
All right, my
he
last
liked
question
me and I got
your
along with him.
staff is going to kill me, and I don't want to get. I have friends
is just
here.
Fine. I'm not Obama.
You're not Joe either.
I'm not Joe. No, they had very strong rules. Obama's staff too.
All right,
they stopped him from speaking. And Joe, they usually didn't let him start. No, they're fair.
That's the best part of the interview right there.
Oh, man, you got to respect this man. You have to. He's open to talking to the press. He talks for as long as possible. Incredible. All right, ICE raids.
Can you believe this is only day 4 of Trump 2.0? But it turns out Republicans have already found the new star of their next campaign commercial.
I'm not going back to Haiti. Trump, you feel me? Yo, Biden forever, bro. Thank Obama for everything that he did for me, bro.
That has to be fake. It almost sounds fake, doesn't it? I mean, it doesn't even, how can that be real? Well, it is. By the way, that Biden fanboy is a Haitian gangbanger with 17 prior convictions. And Fox's Bill Malugin spent the night embedded with ICE operations in the Boston area as they grounded up all these criminals.
An MS-13 gang member wanted in El Salvador for aggravated murder. And he has an Interpol red notice out for his arrest. This illegal alien from Brazil, who has an Interpol red notice for armed robbery. This Salvadoran illegal alien charged locally with rape and released by a sanctuary jurisdiction. This Dominican illegal alien charged with assault with a deadly weapon and heroin trafficking.
Joining me now is Fox's national correspondent, Bill Malugin. Bill, quite an adventure you had, and I understand that one of the arrested illegals had just been released from custody the day before. What do you know?
Yeah, he's a MS-13 gang member from Guatemala who was locked up on local gun charges out here. The day before our embed, ICE Boston tells us the locals released him, ignored their detainer request, so he was back out on the street. So what happened was ICE found him in an apartment building yesterday. They went in and arrested him, but they found him with a friend or an acquaintance or another guy who had nothing to do with what ICE was going after. But ICE arrested him anyways because when they encountered him, they ran his fingerprints and they found out he was a previously deported illegal immigrant as well. So that's what's known as collateral, Laura, and that's what Tom Homan has been warning about, telling these sanctuary cities, if you don't hand these people over to us and you just let them back out into the community, we're going to have to go in, we're going to go find them, and if we find them with other people who aren't our targets and they're in the U.S. illegally, we're going to take them too. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. Sanctuary policy out here caused that MS-13 gang member's friend or acquaintance to also get arrested by ICE. Now they're both going to get deported.
Yeah, ICE is coming. And what was the reaction, Bill, if you got any, from some of the residents in these communities?
It was interesting. Most of the time, people are just kind of like peeking out their windows watching it happen. But on the arrest of that Dominican illegal alien, the alleged heroin trafficker with the assault with a deadly weapon charge, a woman actually came up to ICE and told them, thank you for arresting him. She clearly didn't have a good experience with that guy, or for whatever reason wanted to thank the officers, and the officers responded and said, you're welcome. So just goes to show, even out here in Boston in the sanctuary area, there are locals out here who do appreciate what ICE is doing and have obviously had issues with some of these bad apples that ICE is going after.
Well, one of the things that people kept asking today, and I knew you would have an answer, is how is it possible that these individuals with such long records, violent records, whether it's assault or rape or sexual assault, drug trafficking, they were just freely going about their business in the community, doing God knows what, but it couldn't have been good.
You know what? I ask ICE that exact same question. When I see some of these rap sheets like aggravated child rape, rapes, attempted murders, I ask them, okay, how are these people on the street in the first place for you guys to go after? Like, who's releasing these people? And they all just give me the same answer. That's Massachusetts for you. That's Massachusetts for you. Like, these severe crimes, they get really low bails, so they're just let out, and then they ignore ICE's detainer request. So, I mean, if you just go on ICE Boston's press release website every day, like, they're getting these horrible arrests every single day: child rape, sexual assault, murder, fentanyl trafficking, and it just makes your jaw hit the floor because all these people are out on the street free, and the locals just won't cooperate with ICE. It's mind-boggling.
Well, I mean, again, if the people of Massachusetts...
It's on, yo. It is on. There's no escape. Trump is delivering what he campaigned on. All right, Tom Homan, ladies and gentlemen, the Will Cannon Show. Let's get it.
460. That's the number of arrests from ICE agents in the first day of the new Trump administration. Fox's Bill Malugin got exclusive in-bed look with ICE agents in Boston. I want you to take a look at part of something Bill was reporting on and the dangerous people your agents are now rounding up.
I'm not going back to Haiti.
One of those threats is this illegal alien from Haiti. ICE says he's a gang member with 17 criminal convictions in recent years.
Trump, you feel me? Yo, Biden forever, bro. Thank Obama for everything that he did for me, bro.
Thank Obama for everything he did for me. Go Biden. Let's talk to America's border czar, who might not share those same sentiments. Tom Homan on all of this. First, Tom, when you see that video, I'm curious, what do you think?
Well, he's wrong. He's going back to Haiti. I can tell him that. And look, I've said it on this network for 4 years. Joe Biden, opened these borders on purpose. It wasn't a mismanagement. It wasn't incompetence. He knew exactly what he was doing. He made the promises while he was running for president, and he kept those promises. At least you got to give him credit for that. But yeah, they've opened this border up, and President Trump's going to secure the border, the highest level ever. You thought we had a secure border before? Watch what happens now. It'll be the tightest border in the history of this nation, and ICE officers are finally getting the handcuffs taken off them, and they're going to put them on the bad guys throughout the country.
Speaking of the border, Tom, if I flew over the border right now, if we had drone footage that we could put up of the border right now, and I've spoken to people who have been down there, by the way, in the past week, how different would it look than how it looked 1 week ago under Joe Biden?
You're going to see border wall being constructed. You're going to see a lot of soldiers down there on the impediment progress and putting concertina wire up, border barriers. You're going to see DOD there. You're going to see ICE agents assigned down there for trafficking investigations. And you're going to see Border Patrol agents, rather than making sandwiches, changing diapers, making baby formula, they're going to be doing their national security duty and securing that border. They're going to be on the line.
And I would assume by extension, I would not see the types of thousands coming across that border that I've seen over the past 4 years. Yesterday, Tom, President Trump passed, along with the House and the Senate, the Laken-Riley bill. This is going to allow you to deport anyone who has been charged or convicted of a crime which would have rolled up someone like Jose Ibarra before he ever got a chance to kill Laken-Riley. But on the other hand, Tom, in order to enforce this bill or any other ICE or Border Patrol measures, you're going to have to deal with sanctuary cities, cities like Chicago. What are you going to do with sanctuary cities?
Well, President Trump's going to take action on them, and like he did the last administration, we got to remove federal funding from them. You know, why are we giving them SCAP funding and other law enforcement funding when they're not performing the law enforcement duties with ICE? You know, it's about public safety. And you're right, Laken-Riley's killer, he was arrested in New York on a child endangerment charge. If New York City was not a sanctuary city, ICE would have took him into custody. He would have been gone. So what I'm going to do with sanctuary cities, well, I'll let President Trump take action on them through the Department of Justice. But we're going to go to sanctuary cities. We're at sanctuary cities jails right now. But what sanctuary cities jurisdictions are causing is an officer safety crisis, right? And instead of ICE officers arresting the bad guy in the safety and security of a jail, where we know he don't have weapons, now these sanctuary cities release that public safety threat back in the community, which, again, is a public safety threat because you want the bad guy back in the community. So the public's at greater risk of crime, my agents at greater risk of harm, and the alien's at greater risk. Arresting an alien in a jail safe. Everything's controlled. But anything can happen on the street, so it's even safer for the alien to be put in custody of ICE in a jail. Sanctuary cities make it less efficient and more dangerous, but it's not going to stop us. We're hitting every sanctuary city right now.
Right now, you're hitting cities like Chicago.
Right now.
All right. Part of that, by the way, that you're using, apparently, you have been offered the assistance of the United States military for airlift support as part of this program. The United States Air Force is going to supply 4 aircraft to remove up to 5,000 aliens that are already, I believe, being detained by CBP. How is this going to help you? Is this a necessary, or do you find this necessary, or this is just icing on the cake of getting these illegal immigrants out of the United States?
Absolutely necessary. We have limited funding right now, so anything DOD can step in and do this is a force multiplier. Whatever DOD does, whether it's building infrastructure, whether it's flying planes, doing transportation, that means an ICE badge and gun is not stuck with those type of duties. They can actually be on the streets looking for the bad guy. So we're going to try to contract a lot of this work out, have DOD do the stuff that doesn't require immigration authority, have them do that job to release the immigration officers out on the street to arrest the criminal aliens. So yeah, this is in plans for a while. We made this happen in a matter of 3 days. So yeah, they're a welcome force multiplier for us, and it's going to help us a great deal, especially on removal flights.
Really quickly, Tom, we saw that video of that Haitian illegal immigrant ranting and raving. I'm curious, if you're an illegal immigrant in the United States right now, who are the people that should understand you are coming for them? What class of illegal immigrant is the one that is at the top of the list to be deported?
If you're in the country illegally and you commit a crime against a citizen of this country, you have a criminal history, we're looking for you. You're that priority. Our top priority is criminal aliens and those of public safety threats and national security threats. If you're a member of Trendo Agua, we're coming for you. If you're a member of MS-13, you're a priority. We're coming for you. And what I'd like to say, those are in the United States illegally that have not been formally deported by an immigration judge, go home. Because we go through the process of having actually putting you in court and ordering a deportation order on you. That's going to put a bar on you from 5.
Exactly.
Can you still hear me? The lights. Can you hear me? The lights are out. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Tom, but I can't see you. You're talking in the dark. At least right now here on the Will Cain Show, I don't think you're speaking in the darkness when it comes to the United States of America. We appreciate Tom.
You have it. Tom Homan, he is not playing around. Some people say his face looks like the border wall. Is that true? I don't know, but he ain't playing around for sure.
And now more of my interview with President Trump from the Oval Office.
This is serious. I mean, Israel's fighting a seven-front war. October 7th happens. You made it clear all hell will break loose in the Middle East if they don't start releasing hostages.
That's right.
They did the day before you were
That's right.
inaugurated.
It's only for that reason.
The sources I have and the people that I talk to, pretty smart people, and what I read says Iran may be 3, 4, 5, 6 months away from a nuclear weapon. They're the number one state sponsor of terror. I'm not the commander-in-chief, you are. There's only two solutions that I see, is to knock out their finances, which would be their refineries, and Israel and or the United States has to recognize they can never get a nuclear weapon. That would mean taking out those sites. Is that something? I know you will not telegraph what you might do.
I can't do that,
Of course
John.
you wouldn't.
I can't. I would never tell you. But I will
Do you
say
see this as a possible necessity?
Had the election been fair, we would have had a deal within 1 week after the election, and they wouldn't have had a nuclear weapon. And the only thing I've said about Iran, and I want them to have a great country, they have great potential, the people are amazing. The only thing I said about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. And they are religious.
Will you discuss with them?
They are religious.
Do you trust them?
There are ways that you can make it absolutely certain if you make a deal, a certain type of a deal. And you have to verify times 10.
Yeah.
But they cannot have a nuclear weapon. And, if they get one, you're going to have everyone else getting them, and then the whole thing is going to be a disaster. The nuclear, I was dealing at the very end, I was dealing with Putin about the denuclearization of Russia and the United States. And then we were going to bring China along on that one because they have much less than we do. China, believe it or not, is much less. They will have an equal amount in 5 years, 6 years. They're trying to get there, unfortunately. But right now they have much less in terms of nuclear. I was very close to having a deal. I would have made a deal with Putin on that denuclearization. It's very dangerous and very expensive, okay, both. And that would have been great, but we had a bad election that interrupted us, and that's why I'm here now.
You seem prepared to talk to all of them. I won't take any more of your time. Feel good to be back?
It does. It feels good, not because I want to be here, but because I want to solve some problems that really have developed. And problems, when I left, we had no wars. We had no inflation. We were riding high, and look at what's happened to our country. And now we have to get people out of our country that would have never been here. So I want to do what's best for our country.
It's the most important thing to you. You were willing to go through all that persecution to get back to this day.
Well, I saw what was happening. I mean, you look at people pouring into this country, and and they're being reported where you're seeing major terrorists, are now in our country, and they knew that this was happening. And they did nothing about it. They had an open borders policy. When you have countries emptying their jails and their mental institutions into our country, when you have a country that's taking gang members off the street and dropping them into our country, nothing good is going to happen.
You're watching all this, but you do realize you put it all on the line. It was back here in the White House.
I think it's right, yeah.
Or I think they would have tried to put you in jail.
Oh, I think so, right. You had a deranged Jack
So it was
Smith,
one of
a
the
total
other.
moron. You had a guy, deranged Jack Smith. He was looking for something, and he's done it in the past with people, but he's a failure. He's a total failure, and he failed in the past also. You know why? Because he goes too far, and he went too far. And the people of our country,
And you won the election.
The people of the country knew it, and I actually think they got it better than anybody else,
Yeah.
As a whole, they're brilliant.
And in spite of a media that was selling this every day.
Yeah, we have a very corrupt media. Hopefully that's going to change. Thank you.
Great to see you.
There you have it. The OG is back in the White House.
Well, President
taking
Trump spoke
interviews.
to reporters immediately after he landed in Asheville, North Carolina.
It's so interesting. Everybody's talking about California, and that's a mess. But I said, I'm not going to California until I stop in North Carolina. So here we are. We're going to go visit the site, and we're going to work with probably 3 of the congressmen, Republican congressmen, who've been fantastic, whose areas have been affected. And we're looking at the whole concept of FEMA. I like, frankly, the concept when North Carolina gets hit, the governor takes care of it. When Florida gets hit, the governor takes care of it, meaning the state takes care of it. To have a group of people come in from an area that don't even know where they're going in order to solve immediately a problem is something that never worked for me. But this is probably one of the best examples of it not working. And there's been some others, like in Louisiana, etc. So we're going to be doing something on FEMA that I think most people agree. I'd like to see the states take care of disasters. Let the state take care of the tornadoes and the hurricanes and all of the other things that happen. And I think you're going to find it a lot less expensive. You'll do it for less than half, and you're going to get a lot quicker response. So that seems to be the recommendation, but we'll be making that recommendation over the next couple of weeks.
Dagan, I think it's important to talk about this in the context of the president's predecessor, President Joe Biden. Hurricane Helene hit. We now know more than 230 lost their lives. It took the former president 4 days to give an on-camera briefing at FEMA. It took him nearly a week to visit. And 8 days after the storm hit, I want to play a soundbite. So 8 days after the second deadliest hurricane to the U.S. mainland, and President Biden had this to say when asked about the storm that was on everyone's mind for a week. So we don't have that. They said they'll pull it up in just a moment, but let me read it for you here, Dagan. What do the states of the storm zone need? And President Biden didn't hear, so he beckoned the reporter to ask again. And then he said, oh, the storm zone. I didn't know which storm you were talking about.
That's not surprising. And this is political, not just at the federal level, but at the state level. And I want to remind people of Governor Roy Cooper, then the governor of North Carolina, that when the storm hit, only 410 National Guard were activated. That is 4% of North Carolina's National Guard. 6 days after the storm hit, only about 1/10 of North Carolina's National Guard was activated. And it took 6 days after Helene made landfall on October 2nd for Governor Roy Cooper to request active duty troops, 1,000 at that time, but almost a week. And even at that moment, these are facts, they were not given command and control by the governor. And so even if this falls back to the states, as President Trump talked about, the states have a better command of how these funds can be dispersed. But if you are run by someone who is incompetent, and you can look at California as well, then that does not help. And I will just leave it there because the only reason lives were saved and not more people died in North Carolina is because of the vast private army of helicopter pilots who flew into the mountains, people I know, who were delivering aid and rescuing people day after day after day when there was no one there but private citizens and people from groups like Samaritan's Purse. And it's a disgrace to this nation that it was led by Joe Biden in that way.
Emily, any moment from now, President Trump's about to meet with victims in North Carolina. And I just want to remind our viewers, these 230 people, they're not numbers, they're not statistics, they're human beings. The Craig family lost 11 family members in North Carolina. Imagine that. In a moment's time, 11 members of your family wiped away. Many people still living in tents. We have some pictures of that we'll pull up. Living in tents. This happened months ago. And then Megan Dry lost her little son, Micah. He was 11 years old. His last words were crying out to Jesus Christ, his Savior. And Micah said this. Micah always wanted to be a superhero, Megan said about her son. Instead, he's my hero because he reached for something past flesh, past human, past anything that even grown adults reach for. My son called out to the God Almighty. This is what this moment is about for President Trump. Touching these people, speaking to these people, hugging these people.
Those unfathomable losses to me there is no words to describe them. And you're absolutely right that finally we have a commander-in-chief that is there on the ground immediately to try to empathize and to try to tell the American people, I see you, I see them. Little Micah, who in death has become, frankly, a hero and an inspiration for all of us in life. You're absolutely right about the group. Save Our Allies is still there. The whole point is these private groups, these Americans who reached out to their fellow North Carolinians and their fellow Americans stood in the gap where the government failed. And I see their success and their continued steadfast, stalwart effort as a continued failure of the government. So finally, we have here with this new administration the opportunity to totally turn everything around, because the problem and the failure lied in the dependency of the government to begin with that was set up like a prop by the Biden administration so that people thought they had help coming. The reality is, in those moments, what they learned, the hideous truth under the Biden administration, was that no one was coming except for their fellow Americans, their fellow North Carolinians, people like Save Our Allies. So here, thank God for President Trump now, and I just look forward to a disaster like that never happening again, because the disaster came afterward.
Harris, and we're still looking at pictures of this devastation. You know, this happened a long time ago, and yet it's still a devastated area. And to hear President Trump say, look, FEMA was better on my watch, but even then, the state could do it better. There are all these conflicts he mentioned.
Look, I mean, FEMA is under the same umbrella as, you know, with all the other things that DHS has to do. We've got the border. There are a lot of things that DHS is doing that's broken. That is a huge agency now. So it's just one of the things that needs to be looked at. So it's interesting. I had at the end of the Faulkner Focus asked Trey Gowdy, well, which is it? Is he taking away FEMA by executive action just for North Carolina or in total? And Trey said both. He said probably more, you know, quickly it will come for North Carolina, but he's got to get it out of the hands of a broken agency. You mentioned the death from Katrina and Helene. They are 1 and 2 now in the modern history. And I know in Great Galveston Hurricane back in 1900, we had more than 8,000 people died. But in modern history, we are now looking at 1 and 2. Helene, it is an embarrassment to federal government that it took so long for FEMA to even approach doing what it needs to do. We still have 2 million cubic pounds of debris on the ground from Helene. That could take a long time to cubic feet, a long time to pick up. They've only picked up 1 million cubic feet in debris, and it's been 122 days.
Dr. Siegel, I think another thing worth mentioning.
Yes, myself and my family, we were also affected by Hurricane Helene. I am in Georgia. I'm not in North Carolina or South Carolina. However, of course, you know, it passed through Georgia, passed through South Carolina, and then North Carolina. North Carolina got it worse. But where I am in Georgia, we had 9 days without power. We also had 22 days without the internet. And it was something. I had to move my family to another city so we can have power, because I have a 5-year-old daughter. And you know, my phone just started blinking some really wild noise. Because I have Apple Intelligence on my phone, so it's like, what is going on? Is my phone listening to me? Maybe.
When we think about FEMA is the scandal it's enveloped in that did not get the appropriate attention because we were in the middle of the election and its aftermath. This is from the Daily Wire. Government employees told the Daily Wire that at least 20 homes with Trump signs or flags were skipped from the end of October and into November due to the guidance, meaning they were not given the opportunity to qualify for FEMA assistance. Images shared with the Daily Wire show houses were skipped over by the workers who wrote in the government system messages things such as Trump sign, no entry per leadership. This is at the crux of Trump's problem with FEMA.
What a disgrace that is, the politicization of everything in the midst of a national disaster, which has been called a national disaster. And look at the contrast here between President Trump marching in with large S to, by the way, something the mainstream media always overlooks it a week afterwards. They forgot about North Carolina. Their eye is now in California. Forget about North Carolina. Meanwhile, I can tell you medically, homes that were destroyed, the injuries that occurred, the people that were displaced, the mold that's growing on the walls, 13,000 people in FEMA shelters. Listen to this, Kayleigh. FEMA has $27 billion in its budget that Biden just gave them. And what's it doing with it? You just said they're politicizing a national disaster. Biden was like the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the curtain that said, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. doing nothing, just pulling levers, where President Trump comes in, puts a spotlight back where it belongs on an area that's still devastated.
And the symbolism here that the first trip out of Washington, D.C. would be to North Carolina. Amid all of these natural disasters, we saw him go to East Palestine when the current president took a long time to do that, and then to North Carolina when the former president took nearly a week to do that.
Hey, everyone.
You got to respect this man. You have to. Listen to him. The first lady just looks like a bag of money, yo.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you. North Carolina, it's been a horrible thing, the way that's been allowed to fester, and we're going to get it fixed up. Should have been done months ago from the hurricane that took place almost 4 months ago. North Carolina's been treated very badly, so we're stopping there, and we're going to then go to Los Angeles and take a look at a fire that could have been put out if they let the water flow, but they didn't let the water flow, and they still haven't for whatever reason. So I think we're going to have a very interesting time. I think many of you are going with us. If you'd like to have a ride on the plane, we'd love to give it to you. I don't know. Is he going? Is he going? I don't know. I mean, I really don't. You know, because if he's going to be there, it would be cheaper, but I didn't invite him. Somebody did. Look, whatever it is, he's a good man. I don't know what's going to happen. You never know in those things, but Pete's a very, very good man. I hope he makes it. I hope he makes it. I was very surprised that Collins and Murkowski would do that. And, of course, Mitch is always a no vote, I guess. It's Mitch a no vote? How about Mitch? Huh? You what? Let's see what happens. I did a big trip for the March for Life, and we look forward to seeing it. I'm going to be watching it, and J.D. Vance, our vice president, is there, and he's going to be representing us very well, taking place in a little while. And other than being a little bit cold, it's a beautiful day.
How will your administration protect pro-life Americans?
We're all for it. In fact, as you know, I just signed a pardon, and in the pardon we released 23 people that were unjustly put in having to do with pro-life. And they will be released, and they'll be out very shortly. It was disgraceful what happened. That was a persecution.
Will you give Italy a break on terrorists?
Well, I like her very much. Let's see what happens. Have a good time.
Thank you.
Everybody thought I was going to California. I said, no, I'm stopping in North Carolina first because they've been abused by what's happened. I mean, it's terrible. It should have been done. It should have been, a lot of things should have happened that didn't happen. So we're here. We're going to fix it out. We're working with the gentleman behind me, and you know who they are, and we're going to fix it. And we're going to fix it as fast as you can. It's a massive amount of damage. FEMA has really let us down, let the country down, and I don't know if that's Biden's fault or whose fault it is, but we're going to take over and we're going to do a good job. We're going to assign Mr. Watley, who's fantastic, frankly, and the governor and everybody else that's going to work. We're going to supply the money, supply a lot of the money. Maybe you have to chip in something. You'll chip in a little something, like maybe 25% or whatever. But we're going to get it done as quickly as we can. And we want to take care of the people of North Carolina. It's so interesting. Everybody's talking about California, and that's a mess. But I said, I'm not going to California until I stop in North Carolina. So here we are. We're going to go visit the site, and we're going to work with probably 3 of the congressmen, Republican congressmen, who've been fantastic, whose areas have been affected, and with Michael Watley, the governor, and whoever else is, we decide to get involved. Probably less FEMA, because FEMA just hasn't done the job. And we're looking at the whole concept of FEMA. I like, frankly, the concept when North Carolina gets hit, the governor takes care of it. When Florida gets hit, the governor takes care of it, meaning the state takes care of it. To have a group of people come in from an area that don't even know where they're going in order to solve immediately a problem is something that never worked for me. But this is probably one of the best examples of it not working. And there's been some others, like in Louisiana, etc. So we're going to be doing something on FEMA that I think most people agree. I'd like to see the states take care of disasters. Let the state take care of the tornadoes and the hurricanes and all of the other things that happen. And I think you're going to find it a lot less expensive. You'll do it for less than half, and you're going to get a lot quicker response. So that seems to be the recommendation, but we'll be making that recommendation over the next couple of weeks. We're going to go to the site now, and we're going to figure out a plan for really demolition and cleaning, because not a lot's been done, and we're very disappointed in the Biden administration, but we're going to make up for lost time. And I said I'd do that, and this is about the earliest we could possibly be here, and we're honored to be here. This has been a great state. They're great people, and they've really been mishandled. But it's all, this group is going to be great, and we're going to get it taken care of. Any questions?
How will you respond to FEMA? Do you expect to ask Congress for additional aid for North Carolina and California?
It'll be direct. In other words, the aid will go through us. So rather than going through FEMA, it will go through us. And I think maybe this is a good place to start. Because, and in all fairness to the governor, and in all fairness to everybody else, FEMA was not on the ball. And we're going to turn it all around. Yes.
A lot of Americans think that this is symbolic of what your campaign was all about. America first, putting your priorities to Americans, even going to California where their policies might have been one of the biggest reasons why they've had these problems. But you're putting the American people first. Your thoughts on that?
We are. Thank you. I like that question. Boy, I want more questions like that. That's even a statement. Thank you very much. He's a good man, that guy. And he's also a very professional reporter, I have to say. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're putting America first. We're putting, in this case, North Carolina and California. We're going to do a good job in California. That is a disaster like, I don't know if we've ever seen anything like it, frankly. They say the biggest in the history of California. I think, has anything bigger than that happened in the whole country ever? It looks like, I don't want to say what it looks like, but you know what I'm going to say. It looks like something hit it. And we won't talk about what hit it, but it is a bad, bad situation. And I guess I'm going to meet with some government officials. But, I mean, much more importantly, and in California, just to revert to it for a second, millions of gallons of water are waiting to be poured down through already the half pipes that are already built. I mean, they've been up for 40 years. And about 20 years ago, they turned off the water. And it's the water that comes from the Pacific Northwest. Some of it comes out of Canada, and it flows there, and it probably has flowed there for 1 million years. And they turned it off, and they routed out to the Pacific. And in the meantime, you don't have water in the hydrants. You don't have water in the sprinkler systems. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. And everyone's trying to figure out, why aren't they turning it back? They say it's the Delta smelt. It's a fish. But I find that hard to believe. But we'll figure it out. And without doing that, you're going to continue to have problems.
Mr. President, what are you prepared to do, sir, if OPEC doesn't respond to your call to cut oil prices?
Well, we want to see OPEC cut the price of oil, and that will automatically stop the tragedy that's taking place in Ukraine. It's a butchering tragedy for both sides, by the way. A tremendous number of Russian soldiers are dead. Tremendous number of Ukrainian soldiers, and a lot of people are dead from the bombing of the cities. But right now it's just bullets whacking and hitting men, mostly men, almost in all cases men. And over 1 million men are killed, and they're losing thousands of people a week. It's crazy. It's a crazy war. And it never would have happened if I was president. Would never have happened. This is crazy that it happened, but we want to stop it. Now, one way to stop it quickly is for OPEC to stop making so much money and to drop the price of oil, because they have it nice and high. And if you have it high, that war's not going to end so easily. So OPEC ought to get on the ball, and they ought to drop the price of oil, and that war will stop right away.
Mr. President, funding to Los Angeles because of its sanctuary city policy?
I want to see two things in Los Angeles: voter ID, so that the people have a chance to vote, and I want to see the water be released and come down into Los Angeles and throughout the state. Those are the two things. After that, I will be the greatest president that California has ever seen. I want the water to come down and come down to Los Angeles, and also go out to all the farmland that's barren and dry. You know, they have land that they say is the equivalent of the land in Iowa, which is about as good as there is anywhere on earth. The problem is it's artificial, because they artificially stop the water from going onto the land. So I want two things. I want voter ID for the people of California, and they all want it. Right now, you don't have voter ID. People want to have voter identification. You want to have proof of citizenship. Ideally, you have one-day voting, but I just want voter ID as a start, and I want the water to be released, and they're going to get a lot of help from the U.S. Thank you very much. I'll see you in a little while. We'll see you at the site. We'll see you at the site.
Tell us more about the deportation flights. Where are they going from? Where are they going to?
Deportation's going very well. We're getting the bad, hard criminals out. These are murderers. These are people that have been as bad as you get, as bad as anybody you've seen. We're taking them out first. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Press. Move to the grass.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm
You gotta respect a man like that. He said he was gonna go to North Carolina, and he went. Of course, CNN has something to say. Check this out.
I want to also point out something else that was really a key bit of news from Donald Trump this morning, which is going down to North Carolina, a place where they have been trying to get disaster relief over the past few months. FEMA has been down there. And what Donald Trump said is that he wants to now get rid of that federal agency. I want to play what he said and then talk to you on the other side, Jeff.
We're looking at the whole concept of FEMA. I like, frankly, the concept when North Carolina gets hit, the governor takes care of it. When Florida gets hit, the governor takes care of it, meaning the state takes care of it. To have a group of people come in from an area that don't even know where they're going in order to solve immediately a problem is something that never worked for me. I'd like to see the states take care of disasters.
Jeff?
Well, look, the states taking care of a disaster is that may be one thing, but states obviously cannot afford to take care of them themselves. But Dana, what this is, the bigger picture here is just one more example of, in the Trump administration, the dismantling of government agencies. I mean, this has long been a discussion by many conservatives. It was, the very pages of Project 2025, sort of dismantling and shrinking of FEMA and other agencies. So this is very much a real conversation that many would like to have. The question is, what would that actually do in a practical matter? I would be curious to know what Republican governors from years gone by, Jeb Bush, for example, would sort of a dismantling of FEMA, what would that have done for all those Florida hurricanes, or Governor DeSantis? There's no question that FEMA has its critics on both sides of the aisle. Democrats here in North Carolina have been critical of FEMA in terms of the distribution of housing credits and other things. But as you can see, this is just one small slice of the rebuilding and recovering that is yet to happen here. And that, of course, takes time. We're more than 3 months since Hurricane Helene. The disaster that the president is going to see later on in California, obviously still smoldering, so raw here. But the idea of having this discussion of dismantling a government agency in the middle of a crisis, that's an open question that Congress, of course, would also play a role in. But he's very serious about doing it. It's part of his broader remaking the whole idea of the federal government. Dana?
It sure is. Jeff, thank you so much for that terrific reporting. Here at the table are other amazing reporters. CNN's Jamie Gangel, Jackie Kucinich of the Boston Globe, and Ested Herndon of the New York Times. Where do we start? I feel like that could be put on a pillow for the Trump years. Let's just start where Jeff left. He was talking, I was remembering in May, I believe, going with the then FEMA director, Deanne Criswell, Joe Biden's FEMA director,
to Oklahoma, about one of the reddest states in America. And she was greeted by the Republican governor of Oklahoma, the Republican senator, James Langford, other Republican local officials who were so grateful for her coming because of the massive tornadoes that had just hit Oklahoma. They weren't saying, why are you here? We want to do it ourselves. They were saying, thank goodness you're here.
Look, if a state could handle a catastrophe, then you might not need FEMA, but that is not in the nature of a catastrophe. Another image we remember when Barack Obama came to New Jersey and Chris Christie came out on the tarmac to hug him, to thank him for help. FEMA may not be perfect, but dealing with a catastrophe is an enormous challenge. And these states, Jeff Zeleny mentioned Jeb Bush.
Of course, they can say, whatever they're going to say because this is what they do. The fact is, in Florida, okay, Ron DeSantis said, we're not going to wait for FEMA. We know FEMA is eventually going to come and, do what they're supposed to do, but we're not going to wait. We're going to, do what we're supposed to do for the people that live here in the state. So I truly, I subscribe to making sure that the state is equipped. The state is resourceful enough by the federal government. There should be allocated some sort of emergency funds to the states, all 50 states, or maybe 51 states if Canada joins the United States. The state should be able to, handle emergencies, not wait for federal government, FEMA, because it hasn't worked well for years. So moving forward, the state should be able to get some sort of allocation, I guess, yearly or quarterly or however it works, for them to be able to, handle disasters and natural disasters like what happened in Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and even California right now.
Where there are hurricanes and they deal with it, they need this kind of help. There's something else that you mentioned earlier about strings attached. And things being politicized. If you're a red state, Donald Trump might be willing to give you some money.
I'm glad you said that.
Right? If you're a blue state, if you're Puerto Rico, how are you feeling about this?
Well, on that note, he's in a red state. I mean, it's generally purple-ish. He's there with the Democratic governor, but they voted for Donald Trump in North Carolina. I did not hear one sort of string that he said must be attached for North Carolina to get any federal aid, whether it comes through FEMA or not.
This is a throwback to what we saw in the first Trump administration, where blue states were treated one way during a disaster and red states were treated another way during a disaster. There's a story that was in Politico about how when Trump initially refused to give funds in Orange County, when there was a fire there, I think it was 2017 or 2018, and one of his staff had to go through and say, there are a lot of Trump voters here. A lot of people voted for you in this area, and the aid was released. So I think we're going to see more of this, but I agree with you. I would wonder what Ron DeSantis would say about FEMA being eliminated or any of those plain state governors who have to deal with tornadoes every year.
I mean, it's stunning. In the press conference, he explicitly asked what his numbers are in the state. He talks about, I want a bigger percentage in Tennessee versus North Carolina. It's very frontally part of his decision making when he thinks about these efforts. And I think that's an important point. Like, that disaster relief has been seen as outside of that kind of partisanship mold. So people took pride in that. And obviously Donald Trump is upending that. I was in Western North Carolina right before the election, and I remember how much Trump's misinformation on this point had taken root. You heard people all across that portion of the state, which is really Republican and rural, saying things like the Democratic governor is not coming. He's purposely leaving us out. I actually talked to one guy who was saying, I thought that until I actually got my TV back and I realized the governor had showed up, right? But it's that narrative had become so ingrained in that place, and that's part of Trump's power, of power of pulpit. He puts those messages out there. The folks who believe him take root. Conservative media really blows them up. And he uses it kind of as a negotiation tactic. Like, will we see FEMA completely eliminated? I don't know. But he certainly wants you to think that so we can think about some of the changes and disruptions that he wants to bring.
And yeah, I don't think that any of us should say, well, he doesn't really mean it. I mean, we're 4 or 5 days in, and a lot of the things that even people who voted for Donald Trump said he doesn't really mean it, he meant. He meant it.
No question. Remember when we talked about, do you take him literally or seriously? I think what we've seen in this first week is you better believe both.
Yeah.
I mean, there has just been a fire hose of things that he said he would do, some of which his own top people said he wouldn't do, such as pardons for violent offenders. But we've seen it across the board. We've seen agencies, this flood of executive orders. He is doing what he said.
And we're going to get to a lot more of that. I do want to turn back to what the president has said again in the last hour and a half. Daniel Dale is with me to talk about some of the claims that he made. And Daniel, as I go to you, I just want you to know that I was, as we were coming on the air, getting a text from a former senior FEMA official just saying, what about the people in North Carolina, the people in LA, but in particular the people in North Carolina who are hearing the president come, have already gotten the disinformation, misinformation in their sort of echo chambers from their neighbors who haven't applied for aid that maybe they are eligible for that could really help them because they don't have the correct facts. Help us with that.
The lies impact people's lives.
Yes.
They really do. So again, people are entitled to criticize FEMA's response to Helene, the overall Biden administration's response. But the fact is that Trump has made numerous claims about FEMA and that federal response that are just not true. So for example, he said in early January that FEMA is out of money, one of those lies that impacts people. It is not out of money. FEMA's disaster relief fund had $27 billion in it as of 2 weeks ago. He said repeatedly that FEMA had
Yeah, it has $27 billion as of 2 weeks ago. That's why the people in North Carolina, Georgia, and South Carolina got $750 for Hurricane Helene. And they say it's just the first response. They're going to come back and support you however they can. People in California are getting $770. First response, they're going to come back and help you. Maybe they're not coming back. Who knows?
No money for North Carolina because it diverted all of the funding to illegal immigrants. That did not happen. What actually happened was that Congress gave FEMA tens of billions for disaster relief and a much smaller pot of money, a separate pot of money, about $650 million for a program to help communities around the country shelter migrants. Two separate programs Congress funded separately. There wasn't like some sort of improper diversion. The president has said over and over the North Carolina residents who lost their homes only got $750 in aid while foreign countries got billions. In fact, that $750 was merely initial emergency assistance for immediate pressing needs of food, water, baby formula. Those people are also eligible for tens of thousands in additional assistance, including, for example, up to $42,500 each for home repairs. And I think the biggest one, Dana, the president has said over and over and over that FEMA just hasn't helped North Carolina at all, has been completely absent. That is not true. You can argue they didn't help fast enough in some communities, that aid has been too slow in being distributed, but they've been there. FEMA has deployed more than 1,700 employees to North Carolina. Former Governor Roy Cooper said it was more than 8,500 federal personnel total. FEMA had provided, as of Inauguration Day, more than $316 million in cash grants to North Carolina, and in addition, more than $300 million extra to North Carolina governments for infrastructure repairs, debris cleanup. So again, yes, criticize.
So there you have it.
Despite President Trump's criticism.
So there you have it. This person here is saying FEMA actually helped. Like everybody got FEMA's help. Watch this. Same CNN, y'all. Same CNN. This ain't another, network. This is the same CNN who just told you FEMA has always been there. Same CNN.
Of FEMA, its voucher program has helped thousands of people in the state find shelter. But as Mina Durson found out, the sometimes confusing process to get assistance has left some there out in the cold or fearing another displacement. Let's take a look.
Here's another spot to you
gonna do some schoolwork and eat. We've got our second bathroom slash closet. Yes, yes.
Right now, this hotel room is home for Megan Stelchuk and her daughters. In September, the house they'd just moved into flooded in Hurricane Helene, and they bounced from shelter to shelter until a FEMA housing voucher came through.
We stayed at La Quinta there for a couple of weeks, and then they said they didn't have any more vacancies for us. So we had to move over to the Comfort Suites, and then that hotel decided to not participate in the voucher program any longer.
They've lived in this hotel for the past month, but her voucher is set to expire on February 7th.
I'm terrified that I'll wake up and, I'll just get a phone call and it'll be like, yeah, your voucher's no longer active. It makes it hard to breathe. It's very difficult to sleep. It's the most, disabling feeling I've ever felt.
The voucher is through FEMA's Transitional Sheltering Assistance Program. The agency says almost 13,000 households have used the program in western North Carolina since Helene, and benefits have repeatedly been extended. FEMA says it reassesses the need every 2 weeks, a process displaced residents say has been confusing and stressful.
I can't tell you how many hours I've spent down there thinking that I was making some progress here, because I am really limited on funds. I'm trying to properly, make sure that I am filing correctly, so that I can get the assistance that, really, really need.
Stelchuk says she relies on updates from Mira and Brian Williams. They own the Blue Ridge Tourist Court, where she and other storm victims have been living.
Access to information for us as hotel owners is a little more straightforward. We're able to speak directly to the third party that oversees the FEMA voucher program. So we have a direct line to them that I'm not sure the displaced people do have.
How long do you think you're going to be able to be a participant in this program?
I think it depends on how long FEMA keeps the program active.
FEMA's relief program in North Carolina has drawn a lot of criticism. False claims went so viral, the agency had to create a rumor page to debunk misleading information. In a letter to the governor Sunday, FEMA said the voucher program is approved until the end of March and is still supporting over 2,700 people. The agency says it will call anyone whose voucher may become ineligible and give 3 weeks' notice instead of 7 days. But Leanne Boland says she never heard from anyone at FEMA before the hotel where she stayed told her that her voucher expired.
They knocked on my door on the 13th and said, FEMA just sent us an email saying that tonight is the last night they're going to pay for you.
She filed for FEMA assistance as a household with her boyfriend at the time and says she was told she could change it to an individual claim later. She says FEMA ended the voucher for the household 10 days ago, but she hasn't been able to get help filing for benefits as an individual.
You haven't been able to get a hold of anyone to untangle that situation?
Nope.
Since then?
No, I've called nothing.
Out of money, she had to move out of the hotel and take everything to a campground.
We got donated a camper, not from FEMA. FEMA sucks.
With the area already crunched for affordable housing and temperatures now in the single digits, displaced residents fear they'll have nowhere to go and that they've been forgotten.
I guess we're just mountain people that nobody cares about, that nobody tells their story or nothing about how bad it is here.
You're feeling left behind.
Very much so. I mean, we're just thrown out like garbage.
I hope that we haven't been left behind. There's got to be a better way. I mean, I don't know it, but there's got to be.
FEMA told us they are still here and they are encouraging anyone who still needs aid to apply.
Yeah. You heard them. They just told you. That's not happening. The people just told you FEMA sucks. They just told you.
Their homes, their businesses, their loved ones, they're finding a way. These are tough times, but West North Carolina, we just simply have.
And this is CNN, y'all. This ain't like Fox or, they will say right-wing media. This is CNN, everybody. This is CNN. And this video was, I guess, today or yesterday. This is CNN. This is not some right-wing media. So realize.
Have tougher people.
Now, I know it's not clear yet whether or not you will actually get to meet with President Trump or see him in person, but what would your message to him be?
Well, first off, we're honored to have the president in West North Carolina. Opportunities like this. One fear we have in this region is that we're going to be left behind. And these people, their setbacks, their successes, they're just as important as anywhere else in this country. And so I think to have the president here and to tell our story is important, so people don't forget about us. But again, I hope the president, steps back and sees this as an American success story. We have a long way to go, but this doesn't fit in political boxes. You have Democrats and Republicans, independents, different religions. No one's checking voter ID cards. What you're seeing is the best of North Carolina and the best of America, people that are coming together and getting results done. And so there's a time for politics. Obviously, the president, as any politician, has a time and place for that. But I think what he'll see today when he meets with these families is a region fighting its way back. Challenges lie ahead. But again, if you give the people of the mountains the resources and the respect they deserve, we're going to find a way.
We've been showing a lot of pictures of some of the destruction and the recovery efforts, some of which you provided yourself. It's just a reminder of how bad things were there. And it is good to hear that you're making progress. You've got some frustrations with FEMA. What are they?
Mm-hmm. Well, again, we've seen FEMA step up. I think it's been a better result this time than what Canton and Haywood County worked through in 2021 when Tropical Storm Fred hit us. But again, it's communication, especially with housing. I've seen, obviously, Governor Josh Stein, who will meet the president on the tarmac today, step up and work with housing, especially private roads and bridges. But again, we're hearing that frustration. And these people that are in hotels, sometimes, hours away from their home, finding a very efficient way to get them back on their property with trailers, cut through the regulations, cut through the red tape, and find a way. I think, when you're in local government, you start at yes until you have to say no. And so the inability to communicate, having people getting ready to get thrown out of their hotels an hour and then finding out it could be extended. I think Washington and Governor Stein have done a good job extending that now for months. People need that stability. Again, as I've said time and time again, other than the words "I love you," the most important word in the English language is home. And these people want to stay home. They want to rebuild. And cutting through that red tape, having FEMA as a partner. But also, in fairness to FEMA, it's not their job to do everything. We've seen so many community members, churches step up. It's a joint effort. I think FEMA has done some things well. There are some things that FEMA still needs to do. And so we'll continue to work with our federal partners, Democrats and Republicans, FEMA, whatever it takes, again, to give these people the respect and resources.
And again, we're looking at live pictures from Joint Base Andrews as President Trump arrives there to depart on this journey. Mayor Zeb Smathers, thank you for being with us. It's a long.
We've heard the situation on ground in North Carolina. It is still very, very bad. But the OG, the 45th, the 47th, Donald J. Trump actually visited them today, and he promised to, help them as he should. He promised that on the campaign trail before he became the 47th. And before he became the 47th, he also visited them before, and he gave them a little help. He donated to North Carolina before he was president. And now he's president, he can help in a major way. But he's also going to California today, so it is going to be an interesting day. We're going to be back here today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to the live show. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't double tapped your screen, double tap your screen. If you are wondering, how do I like this show? Because I like it. Okay. All you have to do is double tap your screen. And if you want to join the memberships, it is $4.99. Okay. Join the membership, support the channel. God is great. Instead of looking for perfection, seek for consistency. Never give up on yourself. Never give up on your dreams. Never give up on God. Believe in yourself, believe in your dreams, and believe in Almighty God. Okay? God is great. All right. Thank you to the veterans. Thank you to the veterans. Thank you to the military active members. You guys protect the homeland. God bless you. Thank you so much. And fathers, take care of your children, okay? Take responsibility. Take care of your kids. God is love one more time. Life is hard. Never quit. Keep moving forward. And God loves you, man. God is your strength, okay? God is your strength. I love you. It is your boy, Genesis, and I am signing out. I love you guys.